The pirate journey of Arceus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 551. The Flying Insect Beast from Next Door. A burst of white light flashed on the spikes, and several white lights shot out from Tesoro's arms. The sharp spikes directly pierced through the chests of several people. Don't do it without saying a word, you guys. It will be difficult for me to explain to Stella when I go back if my clothes are damaged. At this time, Tesoro's face has changed. A pair of huge blue compound eyes replaced the original eyes. The green armor wrapped his whole body. Two giant needles extended from the position of the forearm, and the hand part turned into the appearance of a bug man. In general, the mythical beast of the bug fruit, the shining giant bee form. Although it is a direct ability, he has become a special individual. After combining with the power of the giant bee, he has undergone certain changes and became the first heterochromatic Pokemon ability user. Abandoning the original yellow and black bee color, replaced by a new green body, the current state is his human beast form, and the general appearance is similar to the flying insect in the next digital world. Different colored Pokemon are usually no different from ordinary Pokemon. In most cases, they are just different colors. Very few Pokemon may have some special abilities at the same time as the color change, such as the red Gyarados has a higher IQ, while the yellow bear next to Perona has no special abilities. Tesoro's color changing giant bee drill is a random mutation after the ability is given, and the effect is more intense bee venom. According to Quinn's research, there is an unknown component in the bee venom produced by Tesoro's ability, which will damage the coagulation factor in the human body. If it is pierced by his bee sting, it will inevitably bleed to death without a special antidote. The white light just now was the missile needle he released, which is one of his long-range attack methods. Although he is only the CEO of the beast fruit, he has never given up his physical training. After the incident in the Sabaody archipelago, he has become more aware of the importance of strength. His talent is not bad. According to the life trajectory of the original timeline, his childhood was an ordinary slum child. He was a street gangster from the age of 12 to 16, and worked hard to earn money from the age of 16 to 19. His physical fitness can only be said to be ordinary. From then on, until he was 26 years old, he lived as a slave in Mirajoa. 3 years after he escaped, by taking advantage of the tiger incident, Tesoro took the opportunity to snatch the golden gold fruit and began to develop with his own people. He was famous at the age of 32, and at the age of 41, the fruit had awakened, becoming the Golden Emperor who controlled a large amount of economy. His main training time was from 29 to 41 years old, and this period of time had made him miss the golden period of development, but he still trained the fruit to the state of awakening. Whether it is domineering or fruit, as long as an ability can be trained to the extreme, it can become a proof of strength. The training of the golden gold fruit is a certification of his talent. Although Tesoro's first half of his life did not change, his life trajectory became completely different after the age of 19. His heart was dead at the moment Stella died. Although he was still alive, he was a walking corpse without a heart. In this world, the power of the heart is particularly important. Negative people will only become more decadent, such as Moria, who became a fat house. The same is true for Crocodile, but prison life obviously woke him up. Now Stella is alive and well, which also gives him more expectations for the future. If he wants to protect Stella, he can't always rely on the power of others, so in this timeline, Tezulo has received more systematic training. Although there are many things on hand, and he also has his own entertainment industry part-time, it is much better than the original time. Now he has an assistant and a world-class team to analyze the direction of the company. He only needs to steer the helm and come forward on key matters without having to do everything himself. The systematic training with hope in the future is much more promising than the decadent slave time. Now Tezulo is not a top strong man, but he is also not a weak man. Ordinary people can't do anything to him, especially after he got the power given by Arceus. However, after Tezulo solved this group of people, an accident occurred. Bang, bang. Two muffled sounds came from the side, but it was different from the regular sound of guns and cannons. It was the sound of paper fireworks, and a large number of paper-like things flew in the sky. Bakura, do you have enough stamina? It's fine to use it a few more times. After obtaining the finger swinging skill, she also began physical training. Now the number of times she can use her ability has increased, and the release time has also been reduced a lot. As she spoke, Bakura began to wave her fingers. This was the wonderful use of the lucky fruit after the finger swinging skill was superimposed. The finger swinging skill, which was originally a random skill, would produce the most advantageous skill at the moment with the help of the lucky fruit. This use could even indirectly judge the situation. After she shook her fingers more than a dozen times, a barrier suddenly appeared above their heads, and those things that looked like paper tapes began to fall at a high speed. These were not paper tapes at all, but caltrops. Many people around were injured by these caltrops. In the blink of an eye, there was no one else around, except Tesoro and his men. They were either killed by those things, or fled to a safer place far away. After all the caltrops disappeared, Bakura's defense also dissipated, and then a meteor hammer-like thing suddenly flew from a distance. Although Tezulo flicked it away with a wave of his hand, the force of the feedback on his arm showed that this time the enemy was different from the previous one. Hand over the fruit. The person who came was Diamond. He rushed here after receiving the information sent by Monet. For the sake of reputation, he chose to clear the field first. Those caltrops were his work, because he was the flag bearer who ate the fluttering fruit, and he could turn any object he touched into a light and floating form like cloth and silk, but the material of the object would not change. Those paper fireworks were made of caltrops made of high density metal. This effect can be achieved after the ability is released in the air. The meteor hammer is also based on the same principle, and his purpose is also very simple: to leave the golden gold fruit. He cleared the field because he didn't want too many people to see the situation here. Although the Don Quixote family is not so famous now, few of their cadres are familiar with it. Doing so is just to prevent trouble before it happens. Fruit? If you want it, just take it. Tezulo threw out a golden peach, but after seeing it, Diamond's face became even uglier. The fruit was still the same fruit, but there was an obvious gap on it, which meant that the gold fruit had been eaten. Arsehole. Sword snake sword. Seeing that the gold fruit was eaten, Diamond continued to attack Tezulo without saying a word. Chapter 552. As a CEO, isn't it normal to be able to fight? The sword in Diamond's hand became like a snake under the influence of the ability. Once the devil fruit is eaten, it will no longer be controllable. Even if the opponent is killed, no one knows where the fruit will be reborn. But as long as the ability user dies, they have the possibility of finding the fruit again, but he has no idea who ate the fruit. The first person to be excluded is Tesoro. The animal transformation is too obvious. No matter how you look at it, Tesoro is not the ability user. Then Bakura is excluded. He thinks that the other party should be the ability user of the barrier fruit. Although there are many people left, it does not affect his decision. Diamond decides to eliminate everyone here. As long as all the people related to the other party are killed, the fruit will naturally be reborn. But the real correct answer was excluded by him at the beginning. It was Tesoro who ate the golden fruit. He ate the fruit the moment he got it. This is also the best way for most people to deal with the devil fruit after buying it. Unless the fruit is prepared for others, eating it immediately is the best way to prevent it from being robbed. However, the gold fruit he had just eaten did not have the opportunity to exert its ability. Although gold is a mineral in nature, the gold fruit cannot generate gold, but can only control gold. The gold fruit is also a special superhuman fruit that can turn the physique of the eater into a special gold, but it cannot be transformed into gold to avoid attacks. At the same time, the ability user can control the gold he has touched and stretch and deform it. He can also temporarily assimilate the objects he touches into gold through gold powder or gold, but he cannot create gold out of thin air. In the absence of enough gold, the gold fruit cannot play any role. It can only turn people into ordinary people who have eaten the ordinary form of the human fruit, and their ability is that they cannot swim. The premise of developing this fruit is to make oneself rich, which is not difficult for Tesoro now. In the development plan of the 100 Beasts fruit, the entertainment ship can be launched in 2 years. At that time, it will be the largest known marine entertainment ship. Unless it is absolutely necessary, Tesoro does not want to expose his true identity in the underground world, so he came here with the mask. Although the mask had fallen off after the transformation, no one could recognize the Kamen Rider's appearance, except Stella and acquaintances who had seen his ability form. Tanaka, take care of Bakura. As he said this, Tesoro crossed his arms and used the bee sting on his arm to block Diamond's soft sword. Then he jumped into the air and began to spin. Using the kinetic energy brought by the rotation, his bee sting rolled up Diamond's soft sword. Diamond wanted to get away, but found that he couldn't pull out his sword. At the moment, when Tesoro began to spin, the bee sting on his arm actually pierced Diamond's soft sword. How is it possible? Although his sword was as soft as a streamer, it was the effect of his fruit ability. The blade was still metal in nature. It was not a famous sword, nor was it trained into a black sword by Haki, but it was also a rare sharp blade. The animal type body actually pierced his weapon. Don't make such a fuss. Where's your courage from before? Do you know that I will be scolded for damaging my clothes? That was the result of the battle just now. Due to the ability of the floating fruit, Diamond's attack is very random. Although the compound eyes of insects give him a sharper dynamic vision, it still caused a big cut on his clothes. Stella has an easygoing personality, but she will become very irritable after he takes risky actions. Because she has experience to spare, she cherishes the hard-won things more. But for the future of himself and Stella, he will inevitably make some dangerous moves. The 2 bee stingers were wielded by Tetsuo like sharp blades, and the power of the wielding became stronger and stronger. The initial rotation was a sword dance, and the waving at this time was a continuous cut. Incorporating sword dance into the rotation can not only increase the attack power, but also use the energy generated by sword dance for defense, and continuous cut is a special move that becomes more powerful the more you hit. Diamond didn't know that he couldn't resist the continuous cuts head on, but had to dodge. Just dodging once would invalidate Tesoro's superimposed power, but he didn't know this. Every defense became an opportunity for the opponent to accumulate power. Then, under Tesoro's fierce attack, his cloak was torn open with a huge hole, and the bee sting flashing with black light was only a few centimeters away from his head. The black light was not bee venom, but domineering. The training of armed color is actually not too difficult. If you have a certain talent and physical foundation, and someone is willing to teach you, you can understand it after being beaten for a while. The systematic teaching of Tesoro naturally includes domineering, but if there is no suitable teacher, you can only explore it yourself in the battle of life and death. At this time, Diamond looked at the bee sting and shed a cold sweat. His cloak was not an ordinary cloth, but a metal shield that was softened by the power and draped behind him. Unexpectedly, it was pierced like this. Tesoro's bee stinger didn't pierce Diamond's head. It wasn't that he held back, but several silk threads entangled Tesoro's bee stinger, preventing him from taking the next step. Then the ground under Diamond's feet shook, and Pika's ability transformed rock hand took him away. Other carters of the Don Quixote family have arrived here, but Doflamingo, who came here, was not angry, and there was still a smile on his face. Mr. Tesoro, it's just a small misunderstanding. Don't be so angry. He didn't recognize Tesoro, but he recognized Tanaka and Bakura. They didn't cover their faces, and ordinary people didn't remember them. But people with information channels can recognize them, and Doflamingo is one of them. He has channels that ordinary people don't have, and after entering the new world, he has memorized many people's faces in his mind. As the leader of the White Gloves of Beasts, Tesoro naturally received special attention. From some photos in the newspapers, he sorted out this information. The person who can make Bakura and Tanaka follow at the same time is 99% of Tesoro. He has a clear definition of himself, a middleman in the gray area. If he wants to be a good middleman in the underground world, he must know who not to offend. Undoubtedly, the person he least wants to offend now is Kaido. He was originally angry when he received the news that there was a problem with the gold fruit, but after confirming the identity of the target, he immediately hid his dissatisfaction. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 553. I'm gambling with money, and you're gambling with your life. This is not the place to talk, Mr. Tesoro. Let's talk slowly in the reception room. Master, they? Looking at Doflamingo's actions, Diamond did not react to what the name Tesoro meant for a moment, but chose to shut up at Doflamingo's signal. You seem to know a lot. Tesoro did not remove the transformation, but this answer had already tacitly acknowledged his identity. Although this is a small place, there are many people and eyes. You are still careless, Mr. Tesoro. These two are your subordinates who often appear around you. Having said that, Tesoro certainly understood how he saw through his identity, but Doflamingo knew him, but he was not familiar with Doflamingo. The current Doflamingo only made a little name in the first half of the game, and he was not one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Neither the bounty nor his own business ability was worthy of Tesoro's attention. His influence on the world economy far exceeded that of Doflamingo, whether it was the industry in the underground world or the legal business. Even if he had investigated the situation here before coming here, he only looked at the name. But Tesoro did not refuse Doflamingo's invitation. Observing words and expressions is a necessary quality for a businessman, but he could not see anything from Doflamingo's expression. He was not a simple character. Not long after arriving in the reception room, Monad came over with a few boxes. Mr. Tesoro, this is the cost of your previous auction of the fruit. There was a little misunderstanding between us. That fruit is an apology. Looking at the money box pushed by Doflamingo, Tesoro frowned slightly. What do you want? You are indeed a smart man. Then I will get straight to the point. This fruit is an apology. Diamond is a family member that I value. I don't want our cooperation to be affected by this matter. Cooperation? When have we ever cooperated? Not much now, but there can be in the future. Mr. Tesoro, I want the exclusive right to operate the underground world in the 100 Beasts area. Give this part of the rights to me, and I guarantee to double the profit of 100 Beasts on the original basis within a year. These businesses have already been done by others. Then let them disappear. As long as these people disappear, won't the market here be vacant? Doflamingo directly stated what he wanted to do. If he wanted to eliminate other middlemen, he would be the only one here. Interesting, you can try it. If you can do it, I can give it to you. But if you can't make the profit you said, the wrath of the beasts is not something you can bear. Business is a gamble, and the underground world is the same. Their fixed dealers are all in the new world, and they are not so concerned about the first half of the paradise. If Doflamingo can do this, it's not a problem to give it to him. As Tesoro said, this is an unequal gamble. Tesoro is betting on interests, while Doflamingo is betting on his future with his life. It's useless to talk big at this time. In Tesoro's view, the doubling of profits mentioned by Doflamingo is a military order. If you can't do it, you have to bear the cost of the lie. You have 2 months. You can call this number once every 2 months. If you don't do it, you won't be able to wait. Tesoro left a business card. His meaning was very clear. If he can really organize such a large area within 2 months, then he will give it to him. It will save a lot of trouble to deliver goods to only one person. Destruction and occupation have never been the same concept. If he really does it, it means that he has the ability. Tanaka, let's go. With that, several people picked up Bailey and left directly. He had no psychological burden to take the money and leave. In the underground world, this is the money to buy life. Diamond's behavior of robbing is a taboo no matter where. Even if he is killed, there is nothing to say. Originally, they still sold the gold fruit, but now it has become a free gift. Dover. After Tesoro and the others left, Diamond also felt that he had done something wrong, but Doflamingo did not pursue him. It's okay, Diamond. Although the loss is not small, this is an opportunity. Let's go. It's time to work. This time we are not qualified to make mistakes. Success or failure depends on this time. If he was caught by the Navy, he would at most be arrested because of his identity, but at this point, He dared not stand up Kaido. On the other side, Tesoro also left the island directly. Mr. Tesoro, do you really want to hand over all the business here to that person? Bakura is also a secretary-like role. She is learning a lot of things bit by bit. Sometimes she can't understand Tesoro's decision. Of course he can, if he has the ability. That guy is not a simple character. At least he has enough patience. Even though he almost killed his subordinates, he still greeted them with a smile. He not only returned Bailey, but also gave them fruits with a smile. His purpose was just to exchange for the qualification of cooperation. From this point, Tsurulo could see that the other party was plotting something big. But he likes ambitious partners. Such people can develop things better. As for whether his ambition will harm himself, he said he was fearless with Kaido and Arceus standing behind him. Bakura, write a report for me and send it back to Onigashima. Tanaka, turn around. We still have things to do. Understood. Okay, Mr. Tsurulo, leave it to me. Then the significance of Tsurulo's legal identity appeared. Their goal was the West Sea. As people who were not wanted, they could directly pass through the Car Belt and go to the West Sea through the Red Earth continent. After landing on the Red Earth continent, the purpose of going to the West Sea was not to find any rare fruits or treasures, but to recruit a new artist for the film and television department of the Beast Fruit. Stella and Tesoro were the leaders of the film and television department of the Beast Fruit. However, their attitude towards this career has changed over the years. In the past, they only saw the beautiful scenery of this industry, but did not see the hard work behind it. The powerful background allowed them to avoid a lot of trouble, but the famous artists in this world are all really talented, which is inseparable from hard training. It would be too busy for him and Stella alone. Although N is talented, he is not well known enough now, and cannot share the work pressure, so Tesoro plans to recruit someone with a certain influence. In order to show his sincerity, he even chose to go there in person. And that person is the famous stage actress today Victoria Zinduali. Chapter 554. When a hobby becomes a career, it becomes pain. When a hobby becomes a job, it is possible that the hobby will become a burden. Doing the same thing too much will lead to a decrease in interest. Especially when forced to set a song as a wake-up ringtone, interest in the song will decrease. Tesoro and Stella performed too many times. They wanted to prepare for performances when they wanted to perform, rather than performing frequently. And Victoria Zinduali was the target he found. Born in the West Sea, she is a famous stage character. She has a high status in the dance world and a certain degree of popularity worldwide. However, her live performances are all held in the West Sea, and other seas have only heard of her false name at most. Moreover, she has encountered a lot of trouble recently. Her love affair has been exposed. This is a big blow to those who are obsessed with her. Tesoro and Stella are also married, but they are different. The two have been bound as a couple since the day they debuted. In addition to the behind-the-scenes operation of the 100 Beasts Fruit and Morgan's control of gossip, no one has an opinion on this matter. But Zinduali is a free artist. Although she is famous, she has no agency and does not know how to deal with public opinion. After the scene of her date with her fiancé was exposed by paparazzi, she lost a lot of audiences. Although I don't know what the specific situation is, Tsurulo's information is that Zinduali has increased the frequency of recent performances. From this, it can be inferred that she has not given up her dream of acting, so he has the opportunity to recruit her. The transactions between the four seas are still very frequent. In addition to the Red Port of Mirajoa, which is only a passage for people on the Grand Line, there are still some places on the Red Earth continent. However, those places are far away from the Sabaody archipelago. Without the help of bubble technology, the way to ascend becomes much more difficult, and the cost and danger are also much higher, but some people still choose to pass through here. After changing a ship, they continued to move towards the West Sea, and Tsurulo called Stella to report safety. Stella would never take the initiative to call him when he was out, so as not to affect his actions, because of the ringing of the phone. Rotom, please help me. No problem, Lotto, the signal is connecting. Please wait patiently, Lotto. Rotom has now become a special communication tool for carders and their families. They even set up a group chat, and any big news will be announced in due course. It didn't take long for Autumn's expression to change to the communication screen, and Stella appeared on the other side. "Rotom, can you please go out and play for a while? The electrical appliances that Rotom has boarded can be used without Rotom, but the power will be consumed faster. Rotom is responsible for the tasks of generator and artificial intelligence, and they usually don't leave. However, Tesoro and Stella are just lovers who have a lot of phone calls. Although Den Den Mushi are also alive, people can't understand snail language, so there is naturally no embarrassment. When facing Rotom, some private topics are not easy to talk about. Lotto, this is really troublesome. Lotto." Although he said impatient words, Rotom still flew out of his phone to play with Tanaka. They both have the ability to pass through walls, and sometimes they play strange hide and seek together. Stella did the same thing, except that there were many more Rotoms on Onigashima, so the Rotom went to visit someone else's house. "Did you achieve your goal?" "Yes, it's a great fruit." Tesoro raised his hand, and the gold ring on his finger began to change shape under his control, and finally showed the shape of a heart. "You are not yet proficient in your ability. Give me some more time. Although I can't replicate the feat of Lord Arceus, I can still let you see something special." Tesoro was referring to the wedding of Setsuna and Zorora. The ability of the gold fruit is to control gold. Now that he had just eaten the fruit not long ago, he could only perform simple changes in shape. But he already felt that the gold was like an extension of his hands and feet. He felt that as he mastered his ability more, he should be able to replicate a copycat scene. "Really? But I flipped through the newspaper these days, and that Cinderly seems to have the nickname of Smile Dance. Are you jealous?" "I'm not, but you should be careful outside." "Don't worry, don't you know me?" Boom. A loud noise interrupted their long phone call, but Stella was not in any danger. This was just a daily training on the Ghost Island. "Okay, it's starting again here. Be careful. Let's stop here today." Due to the noise problem, they ended today's call, and Tezulo continued to move towards the destination. West Sea, Yali Island. Tanaka came down from the ceiling like a ghost. "Mr. Tezulo, I have already found out that Zinduali will perform tonight, and it has been 7 consecutive performances. Although there are many audiences, it is far from her heyday." Tanaka took out a stack of musical tickets. If she was at the peak of her popularity, it would not be easy to buy so many tickets on the same day. She is really hardworking. As an actor, he knows how tiring it is to perform with such a high load, especially since many of Zinduala's dances are difficult movements, which consume a lot of legs. Under normal circumstances, she would definitely not overdraw her body like this. In this world without stand-ins and PS, every successful star has made a lot of efforts. Let's go and see what the performance of this dance of smile looks like. The group came to the place where Zinduali was performing, and when she was on stage, Tesoro also understood the origin of her title. She really likes this profession. "Boss, how did you see that?" Tanaka asked puzzledly. He didn't understand how Tesoro came to this conclusion. Because of the smile. The fake smile of a professional is different from the smile from the heart. I can see that at a glance, but her dance steps. Why is she like a newcomer? She has stepped on 3 wrong beats in this dance. This shouldn't be right. Is she too tired? Seeing that Zinduali even swayed a few times before she stood firm at the end of the dance, Tesoro came to his own conclusion. However, the preliminary observation of Zinduali has been passed. Just with this smile, he can make her popular again. He was about to talk to her privately, but he saw Zinduali suddenly slip and fall from the high platform of the performance. Chapter 555. This giant bee can spin silk. After several days of high-intensity performances, and with the old injury on her ankle, Cinderly felt some discomfort in her ankle when she was dancing just now. However, because the performance was not over yet, she did not show it, but continued to perform despite the pain. But the body has its limits. Before she took a few steps after the performance, she felt a sharp pain in her ankle, and then her body lost balance uncontrollably. Although her popularity is not as good as before, there are still many audiences in the venue. When they saw her fall from the high platform, there was a burst of exclamations. The high platform where she performed was about 10 meters above the ground. The speed of human body falling at this distance was extremely fast, and most people could not react at all. However, when she felt just now, a thin rope tied her and pulled her to the side. To be precise, it was not a rope, but the silk thread of Tesoro. Beedrill can also spin silk. Except for a few insect type Pokemon with larvae, most insect type Pokemon can use this move, but spinning silk is too useless in the game, and it is easy to be forgotten due to the limitation of skill slots. In the world of Pokemon, there is no need for swarms of giant hornets to use silk spinning on weekdays. But when the insect Pokemon turns into human abilities, silk spinning becomes a magical skill. After all, it is a magical skill of Spider-Man. He just saw that there was something wrong with Cinder's steps. Although she hid it well, anyone who has been systematically trained can see the abnormality. This is related to his training in the beasts. There are generally two ways of training in the beasts. One is to use great strength to create miracles. Yamato, Jack, Ulti, and other people basically follow this path. They don't need to be very precise in battle, as long as they know where the fatal point is. The other way is more delicate. Due to the lack of innate strength, their attacks must be more accurate. Robin and Nakin are examples in this regard. Previously, Tesoro did not have his own abilities and followed this path. Both of them have enough understanding of the body, and the latter is just more careful. The moment Cinderly lost her balance, Tesoro reacted, and the silk he released was very tough, and successfully brought Cinderly to a safe place. He was not wearing a mask when watching the performance. Now he did not want to transform in public, so he used the method of insect silk. The change in the field shocked the audience, but when they came to their senses, some people found something different. It's Tesoro. Mr. Tesoro saved Miss Zinduali. When the first person reacted, cheers suddenly rang out in the performance hall. On the one hand, they were glad that Zinduali was saved, and on the other hand, they recognized Tesoro. This is a performance hall. Everyone who comes here can be regarded as a star chaser. In their opinion, Tesoro's identity as the CEO of the Beast Fruit is nothing. They value his identity as a popular actor more. Zinduali is a dancer who is famous in some areas and has a little reputation all over the world, and Tesoro himself is a world-class star. This is a big earthquake on the road of star chasing for them. This is also the reason why Tesoro wore a mask and used a code name before. When you are famous, it is not as convenient as you when doing some things. Doflamingo also reminded him that he should let Bakura and Tanaka wear masks next time. Miss Zinduali, if you don't want this performance to become an accident, you'd better cooperate. Tesoro spoke in Zinduali's ear. It is not a good situation for an actor to make a mistake and fall off the stage. He has the idea of signing a contract with the other party, so he naturally has to maintain the other party's value. Although Zinduali turned pale due to the sudden change, her on-the-spot reaction was not bad. Even though her main job was just a dancer, she had seen many big scenes for many years and immediately responded to cooperate. Tanaka, it's up to you. Okay boss, I know what to do. Tanaka pulled Tesoro and Zinduali up, sank from the stands in front of the audience, and then appeared in the center of the stage again, performing a great transformation. Hello everybody. Sorry to scare you. This is today's special performance. I'm today's special guest, Tesoro. Under Tesoro's operation, the mistakes on the stage suddenly became impromptu performances. Some reporters even found tomorrow's headlines because of this. After the performance, Zinduali was invited to have a discussion with Tesoro. But before that, she had to deal with her foot injury first. Miss Zinduali, how many times have you injured your foot? 3 times. Is it serious? This time it's okay, just a little ligament strain, but if you injure your foot again, I'm afraid you'll have to say goodbye to your career. After roughly treating Zinduali's injuries, the accompanying doctors retreated behind Tesoro and walked out one after another. Only Tanaka and Bakura remained here. Hey, Miss Zinduali, you heard it too. I'm afraid you can't continue such a high intensity performance in your condition, and you have to rest for a while. I know, my last doctor said the same thing. But I still like this stage. Mr. Tesoro, thank you for saving me. Excuse me, did you come to see my performance on purpose? Isn't Miss Stella with you? She was a little disappointed when she didn't see Stella, because she was actually a fan of Stella. She debuted at the same time as Stella, but Stella's development was much better than hers. She has something else to do, but I'm here for you this time. Miss Zinduali, are you interested in changing to a bigger stage to develop? Tezzolo went straight to the point and took out a contract. It was an artist agreement for the 100 Beasts fruit, and it was a 10-year-long contract. The stage of the West Sea is too small, and the stage of this world is much bigger. If you love this stage, why don't you give it a try? This. Zinduali looked through the contents of the agreement. The conditions were very good. If you only look at the income, it must be much more than that of the West Sea. However, she did not engage in this career for money. She was born in an aristocratic family in the West Sea. Her family was well off. She chose to dance just because of her hobby. Your foot injury can no longer withstand high intensity performances. This is the most suitable opportunity for you. You have seen the results today. Ah, Mr. Tesoro, you misunderstood me. I meant to say that I need to discuss it with my family before making a decision. She is not alone like Tesoro and Stella. She also has her own family and fiancé. Naturally, she has to think carefully about going to the Grand Line. But before she could come up with a result, after she returned home, a bunch of gossip came out. Chapter 556 Jealousy makes people separated. Since the characters of Tezzolo and Stella were established very early, the news about their love affair could no longer attract other people's interest. Instead of continuing to write about their love affair, it would be better to spread some rumors about them and other people. Those were local newspapers in Zahei. Morgans would not publicize such a small matter. Not only was it not sensational enough, but it might also make the people of Beishao unhappy. If this matter could shock the world, if it was made public, then he would dare to take a chance, but he would not publish something that was not related to the matter. However, local newspapers in Zahei did not care about such things. Mr. Tezzolo, the newspapers are quite fierce. Bakura looked at the content of the newspaper and read a part of it to Tezzolo. The content on it was written vividly, and those who didn't know would think it was true. These people are really good at talking nonsense. Tezzolo did not get angry. He was also familiar with the affairs of this circle. As long as it was not too much, a little rumor would not matter. Even if Stella saw him, he would not be afraid. He had told Stella the purpose of his coming out, and the two of them were innocent, so he naturally would not worry about anything. But Zinduali's family was not so harmonious at this time. Zinduali, is this the life you want? In a mansion, Zinduali's father asked his daughter while looking at the newspaper. He was relatively open-minded, otherwise he would not have agreed to Zinduali to do such a thing in the first place. I just like the feeling of being on the stage. Father, I think this is an opportunity. Mr. Tesoro is a world-famous person, and don't you like that movie too? That's what you said, but Zinduali, the water in the Red Earth continent is much deeper than the West Sea. Here you can be willful, and I can protect you from the wind and rain. When you get there, you will have to rely on yourself. So father, you agreed? You are 24 years old. What's so good about refusing such a thing? But Zinduali, the family business. Now I don't ask you to do anything. You have to pay attention to the family business when you have the opportunity. This is his father's only request. Zinduali is concerned about Tesoro's status in the entertainment industry, while he values the other party's business status. Although his family is noble in the West Sea, it is not enough to look at the whole world. If Tesoro is willing to help, his family's business will surely become bigger and stronger in Zahei. Okay, I'll do my best when the time comes. She had a pleasant conversation with her father, but her fiancé came to the door at this time, holding this morning's gossip newspaper in his hand. Zinduali's father understood Zinduali, but her fiancé did not understand. After the engagement was confirmed, he tried to persuade Zinduali to retire, but it had no effect. The two had quarreled several times over this, and the scandal that came out this time also made him feel very unhappy. So he came to question Zinduali early in the morning. Mr. Tesoro and Miss Stella have been married for a long time, and it was just an accident yesterday. My foot was injured, and Mr. Tesoro just helped me for a while. Facing the questioning of her fiancé, Zinduali answered with a clear conscience, but his fiancé seemed to be jealous, and kept holding on to the issue of the photo. Boy, isn't it too much for you to do this in front of Victoria's house? In the middle of their quarrel, Zinduali's father appeared. "Uncle, we are engaged. It is degrading for a daughter of a noble family to let those poor people appreciate her dancing. The engagement was decided by your father and me." Zinduali herself did not object, "But if you keep this attitude, then I will have to consider whether to continue the engagement." He found that this person had a stronger desire for control and possession, which made him more and more dissatisfied with this prospective son-in-law, and finally the two sides parted unhappily. Zinduali was still unwilling to give up the stage, and chose to sign a contract with Beishao Fruit. Subsequently, the engagement between the two families was also annulled. "Is your engagement annulled?" "Yes. But it was originally a family engagement. I don't really care. It's just a little bit worthless." She was referring to her original reputation. A marriage almost ruined her career, but in the end, the two sides parted unhappily. As your future boss and colleague, canceling the engagement is a good thing, but let me tell you first, we don't forbid employees from dating, but if there is a situation in this profession, you have to tell me, and the specific things need to be worked out. As for now, if you don't mind, we will take advantage of this scandal to spread your reputation, and then arrange your first show in the Red Earth continent. Anyway, the scandal has been spread, and he just took advantage of it. The number of contracted artists of the beast fruit is small, either underage or the character has been established, and there is an opportunity to spread the scandal that can be used. If it's not too much, it's fine, but Mr. Tesoro, can you implant an advertisement? My family has some business in Zahei, and the quality has always been good. Business? What does your family do? Tesoro really didn't pay attention to this matter. He came to recruit actors, not to check the household registration, and he really didn't care about the business. That didn't even go out of Zahei. We sell underwear. Let your father prepare the relevant information. If possible, we can consider it. He pays great attention to the quality of the products. If Zinduali's family can provide high quality products stably, he doesn't mind giving them a sales channel. This can also be regarded as the welfare of internal staff. Afterwards, Tesoro stayed here to finalize some details. Zinduali and her fiancé's family did not have any conflicts. They were all local nobles, and they were considered to be a good parting, but some people didn't think so. On another island in the West Sea, in a private clinic, the people inside were already crazy looking at the newspaper. Damn it. Why? Zinduali, you actually did this. The newspaper was about the scandal between Zinduali and Tesoro, as well as the news of the other party's contract and the news about the unexpected marriage contract. This time it was not a West Sea tabloid, but a new news published by Tesoro at the World Economic News Agency branch. In addition to the major events every day, the World Economic News Agency will also publish different local news in different sea areas. People in the West Sea will not care about the trivial matters in the East Sea. If they don't do this, every issue of the newspaper will have to be printed as a magazine. The crazy man was named Hogbag, a fanatic fan of Zinduali and a famous doctor in Zahei. Zinduali's Achilles tendon had been accidentally ruptured before, and it was Hogbag who cured her. Zinduali helped him, sew the buttons that fell off his clothes, and only smiled politely again, and it was this smile that made him misunderstand something. Chapter 557. Some people were kidnapped, some were signed, and some were robbed. After that, he became a fanatical fan of Zinduali. Since his treatment saved Zinduali's career, Zinduali would always smile politely when seeing each other. This also deepened Hogbag's misunderstanding of her, and finally chose to propose to her, but chose to give up after discovering that she had a fiancé. Now seeing this kind of gossip, he couldn't accept it for a while. If the fiancé can break up, then why can't the new object be himself? Why didn't Zinduali realize his love, and why did she smile so much before? Hogbag was trapped in this aspect. He was not only a famous doctor in Zahei, but also had a high status in the world in terms of medical skills. He was called a genius surgeon. Countless difficult surgical operations were like games to him, but although he had genius medical skills, he had no medical ethics. His operations saved many patients in distress, and these patients had a characteristic: either they were wealthy, or could bring him fame. For him, money and fame were far more important than life. He would not feel the slightest heartache when a poor person died tragically in front of him. Just when he was obsessed with Zinduali, a tall figure appeared here. One of the current 7 warlords of the sea, Gecko Moria. After repeated consideration, Hogback became the doctor he chose. His superb surgical skills were exactly what Moria needed. As for medical ethics, he valued the fact that the other party had no medical ethics. After all, he wanted the other party to sew up a corpse. If the medical ethics were too high, it would be difficult to deal with it, and the other party was also very greedy, which meant that Moria would be easier to recruit. When he came here, Moria also heard the other party's resentful voice, which was perfect for him. "Who are you?" Looking at Moria, who suddenly appeared in his room, Hogback was shocked. The door and windows were closed, and he didn't know how Moria got in. "Moonlight Moria." "It's me. I didn't expect you to know me." "That's much easier. Hogback, I'm here to recruit you. Come work for me." As one of the 7 warlords of the sea, the government had promoted them some time ago, so Hogback recognized him. Moria brought in a large bag of treasures. He just came here by exchanging the positions of his shadow and his body. These treasures were his gift. Although the golden light made Hogback very interested, he did not immediately agree to the other party. "What are you going to do? Why should I agree to such a thing from you?" "Because I can help you achieve your goal. We have a common enemy." Moria pointed to the newspaper on the table. The first 2 words of the 100 Beasts fruit were particularly eye-catching to him. Originally, it was because of the unfortunate fall of Cinderly, who became one of the few unlucky people who fell to death in the pirate world, and the reason why Moria recruited Hogback was also to resurrect Cinderly. However, his ability was not a true resurrection. It just allowed Hogback to enslave Cinderly's body for a long time. At the moment of her real death, Cinderly smiled from the bottom of her heart again. But now an accident has occurred. Cinderly was signed by Tesoro, so Moria also has a new reason. After all, the mastermind behind the contract is Beast. He only hates Beast in his heart. Common enemy. I heard it before. She gave up the engagement and followed a colleague who is more handsome, richer and more talented than you. Listening to Moria's words, Hogback was very upset. He had clearly said before, "Is that bastard more handsome than me? More talented than me? Or richer than me?" But it became strange when it came to Moria. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Don't worry about this kind of thing. I know who is the mastermind behind them. As long as you cooperate with me, we can build a powerful undead army. After defeating them, the woman will naturally be yours." Then Moria told his plan. After he drew a huge pie, Hogback believed him and chose to join his camp. "So what should we do next?" "Go to the ice field in the south. I heard that the Demonos died there. His body will definitely be of great use." Moria kidnapped Hogback. Tesoro signed Zinduali, and in the distant East China Sea, Shanks robbed Foz. Today, CP9 has 2 new stars, one of whom is Robluxy. At a young age, he has already demonstrated his strength and ruthlessness, and is known as a rare genius in CP9. The other is Foz, but when others mention him, they all say that he is a genius comparable to Robluxy, which shows that he has always been suppressed by the other party. Now he is carrying out the escort mission assigned to him by the world government, an ordinary gum fruit. In the weakest sea that Garp cleaned up daily, Fuzzy FO did not feel the slightest bit of nervousness. He did not think he would encounter any trouble here, but a big trouble happened to come at this time. "Captain, there is a ship following us. It's red-haired Shanks." Shanks is not yet one of the 4 emperors, but he is also a powerful pirate in the Grand Line. When such a person appears behind them, these people are a little panicked. "Don't worry, it's just an ordinary fruit. They should just be passing by." Fuzzy FO did not think that such a fruit would allow the other party to take action, and then he was robbed. Although Shanks did not kill him, he had no ability to resist Shanks at all. The gum fruit fell into the hands of the red-haired man, and Fuzzy FO was imprisoned because of the failure of the mission. "Shanks, is this for me?" a girl with red and white hair asked with a little curiosity as she looked at the purple devil fruit in the box, but this time Shanks did not pamper her as before. "No, Yuta, this is not for you." After saying that, he put the fruit away and continued to move in an unknown direction. At the same time, Tesoro also left the West Sea with Zinduali, but their destination was not the Red Earth continent, but entered the Grand Line through the Upside Down Mountain. Mr. Tesoro, where are we going? Don't worry, we are just going to get something first. After obtaining the gold fruit, what he needed was a lot of gold, and the more the better, so he planned to go to Sky Island. Chapter 558, Yamato's historical legacy begins to ferment. The gold fruit not only controls gold, but also transforms it. The texture of gold itself is not hard, but the gold controlled by the gold fruit can be harder than ordinary steel. However, the gold fruit can only convert the body into gold, and cannot disperse its body to avoid damage, otherwise it is classified as a natural system. In order to obtain a large amount of gold, the trip to Sky Island is necessary, but he took the normal route, sailing up from the sea of clouds at the top of the west sky. He didn't want to experience the exciting sky adventure. Isn't Sky Island a fairy tale? You mean the Big Liar Orlando? I remember that was a fairy tale in the North Sea, right? You also heard it in the West Sea. This story is well known in the North Sea, but Zinduali was born in the West Sea, so Tesoro is more curious. When I was a child, I heard from my father that many fairy tale books in my family came from the North Sea. Due to the existence of the Red Earth continent and the Grand Route, the four seas have formed unique regional cultures. Among them, the fairy tales and novels in the North Sea are the most developed. Although most of them are popular locally, people with ability can still receive specialties from other seas. Victoria's family is also a noble family in the West Sea, so it's not surprising that Zinduali saw these things in her childhood. So that's how it is. Although most people don't believe in Sky Island does exist, and it's a coincidence that we are going to the Golden Country this time. Zinduali is a newcomer, but Tesoro didn't shy away from anything. Now the development of the 100 Beasts fruit is accelerating, and he needs more time to practice after getting the golden fruit. So he didn't have time to slowly examine whether Zinduali is a qualified person. Taking her to the Golden Country is the easiest way to verify it. At the top of the west sky, Tesoro and his team followed a safe sea current to reach Sky Island because they came up little by little along the sea clouds. And as a dancer, Zinduali also maintains high intensity exercise, so she didn't suffer from hypoxia, but just felt incredible about the sea of clouds here. Is this Sky Island? Yes, but no, this is a White Sea, and our destination is the White Sea above, but we'll be there soon. Tanaka, change the flag to the flag of Lord Arceus. Arriving here, Tesoro's ship quickly changed to another sail, and the logo of the Thousand Universe arm was extremely conspicuous. Not long after they changed to the new flag, several Shandians arrived here. Are you the messenger of God this time? The things that Lord God wants are ready. Arceus became the new god of the Shandian tribe, and Tesoro came here with Arceus's instruction, so he naturally became a messenger of God in their mouths. Looking at those Shandians, Zinduali had a very strange feeling. Today, the Shandians still maintain that ancient clothing style, but some things are very advanced, such as the weapons on their bodies, which seem a bit out of place when combined together. Don't be surprised. We sold these things. You just joined us. Our business scope is very broad. You will see more exciting things later. At this time, Zinduali didn't understand what Tesoro meant, but when the Golden Country appeared in front of her, and the huge monarch snakes surrounded them, she seemed to have really entered a fairy tale world. Tesoro was just here to get the gold. Under his control, a large number of broken giant gold nuggets turned into golden balls, and rolled in a line onto the cart they brought. Not long ago, a group of pirates came here from Gare Island below. But the leader was very special. His name was Wenbron Killick, a direct descendant of Rolando. The purpose of his trip was to clear the grievances of his ancestors. He believed that Shandora was real, but it sank to the bottom of the sea due to some accident. However, after a long search, nothing was found. Killick's partner had left him, and he was the only one who was still stubbornly searching for Shandora's trace. After a long period of hard work, he chose to take a short break in the Magic Valley town. More than a decade had passed, and the people here had almost changed, but Dot's Tavern was still standing here. Killick sat at the bar and drank in silence. After a few drinks, he chatted with Dot in front of him. After so much time, Dot's face also showed traces of time, but his body was still good. Boss, have you heard of the Golden Country? He was ready to be laughed at, because he had always been like this in the past, but this time he heard a different answer. I have heard of it. Maybe it is on the Sky Island above your head. Hey. Dot, you are telling jokes again. Yeah, there is no Sky Island in the world. That's a story to deceive children. Don't use that broken photo to deceive people. Hurry up and bring the wine. The other guests obviously didn't believe this kind of thing. There was no one who witnessed the truth at the beginning, not to mention that so many years had passed, but Kilik was sober. After Dot returned with the wine, he quickly grabbed the other's wrist and asked, "You said that the Golden Country is on Sky Island?" "No, I just said it's possible. This is just my guess. If you are interested, I will tell you. These young people don't believe me." Dot took out a box from the cabinet, which contained some yellowed old photos. It happened more than 10 years ago. Roger was not the Pirate King at that time. A group of people came here to look for Sky Island, and they really found it. This is a gift from a little girl, because I was the only one who agreed with them. Now the girl should be a big girl. Then Dot took the photos taken by Yamato that year to Kilik. Although his photography skills were not very good, he could still see the unique scene. It is said that this is Sky Island. I think if there is a Golden Country, maybe it is in the sky. Yamato did not reveal the information of the Golden Country at the time, and the photos only showed the figure of the giant snake in the sea of clouds on Sky Island, so the Golden Country was his own speculation. But for Kilik, Dot's words were like enlightenment. You are the only one who is willing to listen to my nagging in the past few years, so I will show you my collection. Dot asked his men to continue to look after the store, and he took Kilik to the back room to look at the photo shell that Yamato brought him. From then on, Kilik seemed to have a new understanding. While insisting on the salvage operation, he also began to think about how to go to Sky Island. On Ghost Island, Ammonite once again got a very important message from his relatives. Chapter 559 To Live. In Quinn's laboratory, the communication snails from Wano Country were lined up in a neat row on the table. Ammonite walked past them like a grand parade. If the status among the Dendenmushi is distinguished, then Ammonite is undoubtedly the highest. In the years since he was transformed into Ammonite, in addition to expanding his snail network, his intelligence has also gradually increased, which also allows him to collect various intelligence more quickly. This time, the intelligence he eavesdropped on had no direct connection with the beasts, but he still chose to report it. Looking at Quinn, who was slacking off, a water gun sprayed at the back of his head. Since Sid found that this method could attract Quinn's attention faster, it has fallen in love with this method. As for Quinn's attitude, Ammonite, due to its unique characteristics, is now firmly in the top position of the beast intelligence personnel. It can be said that it is fearless, and Quinn will not be angry about this, and even became familiar with Ammonite. Before the water gun could hit Quinn, an umbrella suddenly appeared in his braid and blocked Ammonite's water gun. This was just a skill released to remind him. It had no attack power. An umbrella was enough. Mahaha, do you think this trick of yours will still work? I have already thought about how to target you. What news did you eavesdrop on this time? TSK, they are planning to attack a fishman named Tiger in the near future. This is the only information we have so far. Fishman, you stay here honestly, and don't bully other Dendenmushi. I'll go report the situation to Lord Arceus. As Quinn said this, he walked out of his laboratory, and Ammonite began to think about what skill to use to target Quinn next time. Now it seems that the water gun has no effect, so it's boring. Although its level is not high, it has more skills than just the water gun. There is always a way, if you think more. On the other side, Yamato's life was not easy. After she found that Quinn was a tough and disgusting bone, she tried to challenge others. This is why Quinn had the opportunity to slack off, but they were more difficult to deal with than one another. Zorora, who could not catch up, Olga, who could not find her body, and Jin and Shaina, who fought head on, all made her suffer a lot. But in the constant battles, the fighting methods of several people also gave her more ways to deal with special situations. Looking at Yamato in the battle, Quinn chose to ignore this and found Arceus. Although Yamato was not their opponent now, she was getting stronger with each battle, which made him feel more and more difficult to deal with. He didn't want to attract Yamato's attention and let the focus return to himself. Lord Arceus, the latest intelligence, the world government seems to have recently issued a death order, requiring the Navy to deal with Fisher Tiger as the main culprit of the Mary Gi's attack. Fisher Tiger's survival was a mistake for the world government, but he was an ordinary fishman, and it was not worth the world government's big fight. Under the balance they maintain, accidents often happen all over the world. Those top combat forces have to guard the safety of some people and guard against the monsters in the new world. The previous battle between Kaido and Whitebird made people more aware of the destructive power of those monsters. In this case, they only sent some ordinary people to capture Tiger. However, during this period, not only did they not wipe out the Sun Pirates, but they let them roam freely on the sea. After all, they are all fishmen. When the combat power is not enough to crush them, humans have no way to deal with fishmen on the sea. As the activities of the Sun Pirates gradually expanded, the Navy also sent more people. At this time, Borsalino was in charge of this matter, but they couldn't find where the Sun Pirates were. They didn't have a fixed territory, but just wandered randomly on the sea. The combination of all fishmen made it impossible for them to even place undercover agents. Due to racial reasons, there are currently no known fishmen working in the world government or the Navy. In this case, they can only conduct a large-scale search. Since the ship led by Major General Kaluda of the G2 branch was sunk by the Sun Pirates, they have roughly found the opponent's location and continue to plan new actions. How is the development on Fishman Island going? Well, it's not bad. The mineral deposits on the seabed are very rich. Some ancient relics have been found in it. 2 materials that a sea needs have also been found. That's easy. Tiger can't die yet. If he dies, the progress of Fishman Island may be deadlocked. Fisher Tiger has a very special meaning to the fishmen. On Fishman Island, the most restless group is the group of Fishman Street. Tiger is the stabilizer that makes them stable, especially the contact with humans, which has always been led by Tiger and Otterheim. Now Otterheim's autograph activity is even going much more smoothly than the original time. According to the development of the original timeline, Tiger will be betrayed by people in her hometown after sending Curler back to her hometown. Although the Navy who led the team failed to kill him, this incident broke the last barrier in his heart and made him unable to continue to believe in humans. His blood type is too rare, and there is no fishman on the ship who can give him a blood transfusion. Although there is a blood type suitable for Tiger in the blood bank of the Navy warship, he refuses to receive human blood and eventually dies from excessive blood loss. After that, Otterheim's signature campaign, which had made some progress, was almost bankrupt. The current situation is similar. The Fishman Mining Division is a human enterprise. If Tiger dies, then there will definitely be a large number of fishmen who choose to resign and no longer work for humans. The world government needs a dead tiger, but the beasts need a living tiger. The follow-up issues can be studied slowly, but now he can't just die like this. The fishmen notify Jack and Mandafesh and let them go. Tiger can't die. The rest is up to them. One is a real fishman, and the other has lived on Fishman Island for a long time, and is now almost half a fishman. This matter is not only a matter of strength, but also a matter of racial relations, so it is most appropriate to let Jack and Mandafesh go. Understood. I'll go find him right away. Wait, Yamato asked me to tell you something. Ms. Yamato? Well, she asked where your fun combat suit is. As soon as he said this, a drop of cold sweat suddenly flowed down Quinn's forehead. He had been too busy recently and forgot about this matter. Moreover, Yamato didn't tell him himself, but asked Arceus to convey it. This was clearly a naked threat. It's already prepared, and it's just a matter of debugging. I'll send it to Miss Yamato later. This sentence is of course nonsense. I'm afraid I'll have to work overtime all night again in the next few days. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 560. You are my future goal. He wrote Yamato's toys at the top of his memo. If Judge saw this word, he would be so angry that he would die. The battlesuit that he was proud of turned into a toy in the eyes of others. Although the thing was very powerful and functional, it still could not escape the fate of a toy in Yamato's hands. Even though she was getting older, it could not change the fact that she loved to play. The problem of materials was not difficult to solve. He also mastered the technology of bloodline factors. What needed to be solved was how to let Yamato drive him. The ability of Judge's children to use battlesuits freely was also related to their own transformation. Even if they exchanged battlesuits, they could not use each other's abilities. It was not that they were adapted to the battlesuits, but that the specially made battlesuits were adapted to them. Germa's battlesuits certainly had different functions, but the beginning of all this was because Judge systematically created human bodies that could adapt to each ability. For example, Ryuju's ability to poison. So to some extent, Ryuju herself was also a person who was more resistant to poison, so even without a battlesuit, she could absorb the toxins with her body. The same goes for the other brothers. Maybe if Sanji is also completely transformed, he can achieve his wish in another way. Yamato is not that kind of cyborg. If you want to drive this toy, you have to change the way of driving it. But it is not entirely correct to say that she is not a cyborg. Her body has the ability given by Arceus, which can be regarded as an alternative transformation. In this way, the combat energy in her body is the same as the energy cannon transformed by Quinn, but Quinn has to slightly transform the energy transmission method. In theory, he can still come up with a solution by staying up all night for a few nights, but he doesn't have much time to waste. Yamato's characteristic is erratic. Now she may have forgotten it again, but when she remembers it again, it will be a big trouble. So Quinn didn't delay anything, but went directly back to his laboratory in Wano country. And when Quinn passed by the inland sea of Wano country, he was also shouting Jack's name. Jack, come out. Lord Arceus's mission is here. Looking at the situation in the inland sea, you can know where Jack is. Because of the magical engineer who didn't repair the drainage, Wano country formed this special landform. The vast inland sea is actually an artificially enclosed lake. Normally, the lake is always very stable, without big waves, but now it is different. Something seems to be fighting underwater, and huge waves are rising to the shore from time to time. Shortly after Quinn's voice came out, Jack climbed out of the water. What's wrong, brother Quinn? What's the mission? Go and rescue a fishman with Manderfish, and don't let him die, but you've trained really hard. Looking at Jack, who was panting, Quinn estimated that he had been training for a long time, and it was difficult for him to be pushed to this state with his physical strength. After all, I want to challenge your position as soon as possible, brother Quinn, and become a new disaster. It was an ideal goal, but Quinn suddenly didn't know what to say. The position of disaster is not impossible to expand, but Kaido seems to like the number 3, and the other people who meet the strength standards are all direct descendants of Arceus, so the disaster has always been 3. If you want to expand this position, you have to show strong combat power and make certain achievements. Compared with this, challenging the original disaster seems to be easier. For Jack, the flexible Jin and Alga are difficult to deal with, and the most suitable way for him is to compete with Quinn, a relatively stupid opponent. You don't need to tell me this kind of thing. Take a break and set off quickly. Manderfish should have received the order. You can ask Lord Arceus for the details. For Jack's lofty ideals, Quinn kindly expressed praise, and then went back to his research institute. Their way of choosing opponents made Quinn feel frustrated, so he did not explain the details of the task in detail. Shortly after Quinn left, a huge Gyarados head also emerged in the inner sea. This was Jack's sparring partner just now. His defensive fighting style has been finalized, and the training just now was to experience the beating of Gyarados underwater. It is a Gyarados living in the periphery. In order to cooperate with Jack's training, it came here over the waterfall. This is not a difficult task for them. Even when they were ordinary giant carps, they could pull the boat over the outer waterfall. The ocean is his home ground for the fishman, but it is also the home ground of Gyarados. Moreover, the Gyarados evolved from the Magikarp, a carp native to Wano country, also inherited the strange power of its predecessor. The huge size is a great test for Jack. Since Quinn's heart was hit to a certain extent, Jack found Arceus again after his physical strength recovered. You came at the right time. You can take this thing and follow the material transport ship to find Mandafesh. He will prepare the manpower and other things by himself. The illusory energy hand handed Jack a bottle of potion. The specific time was not determined, but Tiger's final cause of death was blood loss. Since he did not want a blood transfusion, he should respect the wishes of the person concerned and change to special drug treatment. In addition to being able to breathe underwater and having stronger strength, there is no essential difference between humans and fishmen, so the drugs of both sides can also be used universally, which saves a lot of trouble. Understood. I'll get there as soon as possible. Once you get there, follow Mandafish's instructions. Don't rush in alone. Yes. Then Jack set out on the road with the supplies. Mandafish had also received the order to leave Fishman Island. It would take Jack some time to get here, but there was still plenty of time. The information that the Ammonite eavesdropped on was that they were just about to take action, so it was still in time for them to get there from here. Fish, are you going on a mission again? Well, don't worry, it's just a small matter, and this time it seems to have something to do with Tiger. If you're worried, just let Xylee do a divination. He didn't believe the result of the divination. Even if a wetland park was allocated to Duty 2 before, he didn't think it was a big deal. It was just a coincidence at most. However, most people on Fishman Island believed in this thing and could use it as a placebo. After Xylee got the result of safety, Rusalka was relieved. On another island, Fisher Tiger also took on a mission to send Curler home. Although he rescued those slaves 3 years ago, the world government had no intention of forgiving them and was searching for them all over the world. These people lived in seclusion on this island. Curler was too small and their hometown was too far away, which left them with no choice but to entrust Tiger. Chapter 561 People's Heart. Regardless of gender, age, or race, they were all included in the slaves rescued by Tiger. The giants returned to their own country, the fishermen followed Tiger to form the Sun Pirates, and ordinary people chose to live in seclusion. During this period, some people chose to return to their hometowns. Whether they were recaptured or died on the way, the people here did not know. Among all the slaves on the island, Curler was the most special because she was only 11 years old this year. 11 years old itself has no special meaning, but it has been 3 years since they escaped from Mirajoa, which means that this little girl was captured and made a slave when she was less than 8 years old. Tigan, this child was also rescued by you from Mirajoa 3 years ago. Although we really want to send her back to her hometown, we can't cross this dangerous sea with our abilities in these small boats. Several seemingly old people entrusted Tiger. Their faces were very old, but their bodies did not look like people of this age. In fact, they were not old people at all. It was because of the ravages of slave life that their faces aged. Tiger did not refuse this request and chose to take her back to his hometown. At that time, they just thought she was an ordinary girl until Aaron impatiently knocked her aside. Even though his feelings towards humans became a little more complicated because of Mandafesh, it still did not change the fact that he hated humans. It was just that when Zyoba pulled him, his resistance was not so fierce. Then he was stunned because the little girl who was slapped did not cry or roar. Even though her nose was bleeding, she only tore off a piece of clothes and kept wiping the deck. I'm sorry, please don't kill me, I'm still useful, please don't kill me. Crying equals death. This is the understanding she got from her slave life when she was young. Whether it was laziness or something else, the result of doing so was ruthlessly abandoned. For the Cheyenne Lang people, slaves without value have no meaning to exist. They would choose to kill each other directly if they were too bothered. Aaron once again experienced the evil side of humans, but he was different from other people who sympathized with Curler. Humans could be so ruthless even to the offspring of the same race, so how could they accept the fish people who had been discriminated against? This is what Arlan really thinks at this moment. He has never agreed with Otterheim's philosophy. In his opinion, only fear can stop the other party, but he will obey Tiger's orders. As long as Tiger is still there, Arlan will not lose control. He did not continue to do anything, but left here alone. Then Tiger covered the marks on Curler's back with a branding iron and forcibly brought her out of the shadow in the most direct and violent way. As time passed, Kurla quickly integrated into the Sun Pirates. Except for Arlong, most of the people on the ship have accepted Kurla's existence. Jinbei, who was originally on the same front as Arlong, also gradually changed his views under the influence of Tiger. It's just that he hasn't understood what Tiger said to him that year. Princess Otterheim is too idealistic. In her eyes, there is probably no difference between me and Arlong, but for me, it doesn't matter. The devil living in my heart is the most terrifying thing. The first half of the sentence is not difficult to understand, but he doesn't know what the devil in Tiger's heart refers to. The Sun Pirates' voyage continued. At the same time, they also found the Eternal Pointer leading to Kurla's hometown, Fawcett Island, and followed the Eternal Pointer to the other party's hometown. It was also because of this Eternal Pointer that Mandafesh successfully found the other party's trace. The Sun Pirates are also wanted by the government. They got the Eternal Pointer through illegal means. There are not many fishman pirates on the sea, and the beasts have a complex network of relationships in the underground world. Many people want to flatter, but can't find a chance. Doflamingo not only did not get angry because of Tesoro's identity, but seized this opportunity to establish cooperation with the other party. In this case, Mandafesh found the news without much effort. Fawcett Island? Yes, I still have the Eternal Pointer to that place. Do you need it? If it is not for going to a certain island, people will not look for the Eternal Pointer on purpose. This is the disadvantage of the Grand Line. If there is no Eternal Pointer, if you want to go to an island, you must follow the designated route. If you change the route rashly, you will be led to a strange place due to the change of the magnetic field of the pointer. The Eternal Pointer and the life card are the few things in the Grand Line that can guide the direction. When did this happen? Listening to the report of his younger brother, Mandafesh suddenly had a bad premonition. The man said that 2 days ago, a group of fishermen bought an Eternal Pointer, and now they should have set off. Hurry up and replenish supplies, and then go at full speed, to make up for the 2 days of travel. Yes. Then Mandafesh's ship opened the outer wheel, and chased in the direction recorded by the Eternal Pointer. Brother Mandafesh, do you need to be so anxious? Jack stood behind Mandafesh, teasing the frost milk fairy above his head while asking Mandafesh. It's better to be prepared. Although the Navy's intelligence agencies occasionally make mistakes, they are the force with the most spies on the sea. The words of underground merchants are only half believed. There is no reason why the Navy cannot find out what we can find out. Maybe that guy sold the news about Tiger to the Navy. If he had been bolder, our news would have been sold now. Lord Arceus's request is to keep Tiger alive, and not affect the Lord's plan. As an old hand, Mandafesh has always been wary of outsiders, especially those black market merchants. There is nothing they dare not do for money. In fact, his guess was not wrong. It was he who sold the news about the fishermen to the Navy. Although there was no specific trace, the Navy had deployed a fleet around Fawcett Island. This is also the reason why they were able to arrive so quickly in the original timeline. In the original timeline, less than 30 minutes after Tiger sent Klar home, the Navy had surrounded there. Fawcett Island is not a naval base. If they had not been prepared in advance, they would not have been able to do this. It takes time to deploy a fleet, and no matter how elite the Navy is trained, it cannot change this fact. How about it, Jack? Are you scared? This is the life of a pirate. No, just a Navy. If they dare to come and surround us, let them try. It's good to have courage, but Jack, you have to be careful when you go out. You don't want Frost to get hurt, do you? Chapter 562, Frog in the Well. Everyone's development level is different. Some people can still grow taller at the age of 20, while some people reach their limit at the age of 14 or 15. Jack, who is 16 years old this year, has reached a height of 8 meters, a real little giant. Mandafesh's height of more than 2 meters is like a child in front of Jack. Outsiders can easily misunderstand that Jack is the captain. Moreover, most of the fishermen look extremely fierce, and Jack has this fierce aura. Except for a few acquaintances and older brothers and sisters who are stronger than him, his attitude towards ordinary pirates is not friendly, but he is surprisingly gentle to his own frost milk fairy. Frost Milk Fairy is not even as good as a hat on his head, but he will not be angry, even if Frost Milk Fairy is playing on the trampoline there. Mandafish's example can be regarded as poking his soft spot, and it is a bit too much. What are you doing with the Den Mushy? Lord Arceus asked me to listen to your opinion. According to past practice, we should choose to ask for help when we are not opponents. No need, Jack. You are too impatient. I'm just saying it is possible. Most underground merchants dare not sell us out. Mandafish was also telling the truth. Kaido and Charlotte Lindlin almost occupied half of the underground world. No one wanted to offend them. Unless there was news of their death, these people would not dare to be too presumptuous. You have to have a life to spend money. The revenge of the two of them is not something most people can afford, nor are they willing to try. This kind of thing will only happen when the benefits are so great that their greed overcomes their fear. Brains are very important to survive in the underground world of the Grand Line. A piece of news is not worth their desperate efforts. Mandafish's ship began to sail at full speed. After sailing for several days, they had arrived near Foreshore Island. Brother Mandafish, we are almost there. If we haven't caught up with them here, they should have reached the shore. Stop the boat. You stay here, Jack. You and I will go over to take a look. He didn't know how many people the Navy had sent, but he knew that his only rescue target was Tiger. In other words, as long as Tiger was alive, others didn't matter to him. Moreover, all the members of the Sun Pirates were fishermen. It would be difficult to catch them on the sea after abandoning the ship. Letting his ship go would increase the burden. Jack and he could enter the water freely, which made it much easier to do anything. Pearman, you stay here. If the situation is not right, retreat first. Don't worry about the two of us. Wait, Brother Mandafish, let's go with you. We are also fishermen. We can do our part in Brother Tiger's business. Pearman accepted Mandafish's order, but there were several people on the boat who wanted to go together. This was the result of Mandafish living on Fishman Island for a long time, and there were several more fishermen among his subordinates. Those who could not accept his identity left him and returned to Arlong or Tiger's men, but those who could accept this matter joined the beasts and continued to follow Mandafish. It's up to you. Let's go. Mandafish jumped into the water first. As a fisherman, there was no problem with retreat. He arranged the retreat route first when he took action. This was a habit he had left after the incident on Krakana Island. Although Gyarados can fly, its flying speed is far slower than his swimming speed. The sea is his home ground. He usually does not choose to fly when he can swim. Take care of it for me. After touching Frost Milk Fairy's head, Jack temporarily left it with Paimon and then jumped into the sea with other fishermen. Jack seemed bulky on land, but his swimming speed in the water was not slow. As long as he did not transform, he still maintained the characteristics of a fishman in the ocean. Although he was slightly slower than other fishermen, he still followed the tail of the team. At full speed, they soon saw the ship of the Sun Pirates. At this time, Tiger had already left the ship with Kla, and Aaron was still promoting his theory. Think about it carefully. What's the point of that little girl preaching that the fishmen are good people in the village alone? It's just a waste of words like Otterheim. Only by letting them understand the horror of the fishmen can we do it. Aaron, it's been 3 years, and you are still so naive. Do you think you are really strong? Before Aaron finished speaking, a strange yet familiar voice suddenly sounded under the side of the ship, and then a blue dragon man jumped onto the deck. Mandafish? Why are you here, a liar? Aaron was not happy to see Mandafish. When he thought Mandafish was really a fishman, he still regarded him as a friend, but since the other party's human identity was exposed, everything changed. In his opinion, he was just a liar. Of course there is something to do. Where is Fisher Tiger? You guys should respect your big brother. Mandafish's behavior of calling Tiger by his name made Aaron even more unhappy. Coupled with his previous words and deception, many emotions wanted him to compete with Mandafish. But he seemed to have forgotten that he was no match for Mandafish during his Magikarp period, not to mention that he was now Mega Gyarados. So he was pinned to the ground by Mandafish with one hand. You want to bring terror to humans with just these two moves? You know nothing about the strong. Mandafish, what on earth are you doing here? Seeing Mandafish pinning Arlong to the deck, The other fishermen around him immediately showed a vigilant look, and Jinbei also made a fighting posture. Don't be like this, there must be a misunderstanding. Zyuoba persuaded them in the middle, waving his 6 arms up and down. I didn't come here to fight. We received news that the Navy had a siege operation against Fisher Tiger. To be precise, I came here to save people. Save people? Big Brother doesn't need you to save him. You are too self-righteous as a mere human. Along, who was pinned to the ground, was still stubborn. Even though Mandafish's one hand made him unable to resist, he still refused to admit defeat. If Charlie wasn't your sister, I would have beaten you so badly that no one would recognize you. Don't keep saying that all of humanity is included in this. People are different. Mandafish threw Aaron to Zyuoba. Although Aaron still refused to obey, he was firmly held by Zyuoba and the others. At this time, Jack and his men also jumped onto the deck. Their speed was not as fast as Mandafish, so they were a little slower. Brother Mandafish, we saw warships on the way here. They are surrounding us. At this time, a series of gunshots rang out on the island. Even Aaron stopped struggling. It was obvious that what Mandafish said was true. Chapter 563 Super Evolution of Ferocity. These warships were hiding near the island, and they came here after receiving a report from Curler's fellow countrymen. Because Mandafish swam too fast, he didn't notice the warships, otherwise he wouldn't have wasted time talking to Aaron. Jack and the others were a step slower, so they just happened to see the surrounding warships. The gunshots on the island explained everything. Mandafish immediately ran in the direction of the gunshots. Aaron could only see the opponent's afterimage. Brother Jack. In a world where strength is respected, you don't have to be old to be called a big brother. You can be strong enough. These little brothers who followed Mandafish are not Jack's opponents. You stay here and be careful. Then he used brute force to rush in that direction. Unlike Mandafish who used the ability to fly, Jack used brute force completely, leaving 2 huge holes on the deck. That guy is actually here to save Big Brother. The surrounding warships have already approached. There is no need to question the purpose of Mandafish's trip. Tiger has a high status in Arlong's heart, which makes him, who just didn't accept Mandafish, a little shaken. Humans are different from humans. This sentence had a certain impact on him at this time, but now is not the time to think about this problem, because the Navy's shells have already been fired. Aaron, you go deal with those warships. I will take people to rescue Big Brother Tay. Jinbei and his men also rushed to Forshut Island. They couldn't stand idly by when something like this happened, and Arlong also led his men to deal with the Navy's attack. Their ships were quickly destroyed by the Navy's gunfire, but as fishermen, they didn't rely on ships. Holding his serrated knife, Arlong planned to rob a Navy ship and bring it back. Not long ago, inside Forshut Island, a group of Navy had surrounded Tiger. Marine, why are you here? We naturally have our own way. Your whereabouts are not a secret, and the people on this island have already sold your whereabouts. This is a deal. You are trading your life for the freedom of that celestial dragon's property. Captain of the Sun Pirates, Fisher Tiger, you have 2 charges, assault and escape. In the name of Rear Admiral Stolberry of the Navy headquarters, I sentence you to death. Tiger's eyes have changed. The escape mentioned by Stolberry hurt his heart. That was a secret that only he knew, and he was unwilling to mention his life as a slave to others. Shoot. However, Tiger's eyes meant nothing to Stolberry. In his eyes, Tiger was just a criminal, so he directly gave the order to attack. The strength of the fisherman on land was far inferior to that in the sea. The dense barrage left him no room to dodge. A large number of bullets shot through his body, but these bullets could not kill him. Then he started his own battle. Under the siege of the Navy, he already had many scars on his body. When Mandafish appeared here, Tiger had many more wounds all over his body. A bounty of 230 million berries can't be domineering. In terms of bounty, Tiger's bounty was greatly inflated. His identity as a fugitive and the main culprit of the attack on Mary G.I.'s earned him a bounty far beyond his ability. Although they had sailed on the sea for 3 years, they had not entered the New World. The fighting method of the fishermen mainly relied on underwater raids, and there were not many opportunities for direct combat. Tiger did not have a suitable teacher, and did not understand the essence of domineering at all. Otherwise, this bullet would definitely not hurt him. Although his strong muscles blocked the bullets shot into his body and prevented them from hurting his vital parts, they still caused real damage. Get out of my way. Water heart shotgun. A ball of water appeared in Mandafish's hand, and then this ordinary ball of water turned into a deadly shotgun, knocking several Navy men approaching Tiger to the ground. With the power of Pokemon, he can convert his physical strength into water, which means that he can display all the skills of fishman karate in a waterless environment. Hey, are you okay? You are. Mandafish? Tiger is not a person who doesn't read newspapers. He has a deep memory of Mandafish who took the blame for him. Mandafish is also famous in Fishman Island. It can be said that it is unprecedented for a human to marry a mermaid openly. In the eyes of Tiger and Otterheim, the existence of Mandafish even means the improvement of the relationship between the two tribes. It's me. I'm glad you're okay. Mission, performance, reputation, bonus, retirement. A series of words emerged in Mandafish's mind. Tiger is still alive, which means that these are not a problem. Kaido second. Looking at Mandafish who suddenly appeared here, Stollerberg's expression finally changed. The Navy only let him, a major general, to surround Tiger on land, thinking that his strength can deal with this matter. The person who was really responsible for this matter was still slacking off on a warship not far away. He did not speak immediately, but pressed the button on his Den Mushi. As a senior cadre of the Beast's pirates, he was also the focus of the Navy's attention. As a major general of the headquarters, there was no reason for him not to recognize the other party. His 200 million berries were not inflated, but a record he had earned himself. Enemies of this level plus Tiger, who still had combat effectiveness, were no match for him. And it was not only Mandafish who came here, but also other members of the Sun Pirates. Mandafish had no intention of fighting again. Their goal was achieved by rescuing people. Let's go. Go back to the sea. Take your boss Tiger away from here. He needs treatment. He was not sure if he could command these fishmen, so he used Tiger's safety to remind them, but his desire to leave did not mean that the Navy would agree. Hold them. Vice Admiral Borsellino's support will arrive soon. The number of reinforcement is not important. As long as Borsellino arrives, it will be enough. He has been called a monster since he joined the Marine training camp. As long as he can arrive, it will be enough. This sentence also gave courage to the surrounding Marines, and they mixed with other fishmen of the Sun Pirates. At this time, Mandafish even saw the flashing light in the distance. The opponent seemed to be coming here a little too fast. Borsellino hesitated slightly, and Mandafish's body began to swell. His muscles became more developed, and a pair of larger fins extended from his back. The crown-like object on his head also turned black and extended, as if a unicorn appeared. Gyarados Megaform. In this state, his strength will break through the original upper limit, allowing him to exert disaster-level combat power. Facing the famous monster Vice Admiral in the Navy, he didn't know if he was an opponent. If you are too careless and let the opponent waste his energy, even if you enter the Mega State, you may not be his opponent. Instead of that, it is better to burst out with all your strength. It will only take 20 minutes at most to get back to the beach from here. As long as they successfully return to the sea, the mission will be completed. Jack, don't fight. Hurry back to the sea. I will go to deal with that tough guy. I will leave this to you. As he said that, a strong stream of water spurted out from the gaps in Mandafish's scales and flew into the air at a speed far exceeding the previous one. At the same time, Jack also entered the transformation state, and his body expanded, and a 10-meter tall king bronze elephant appeared in front of Stiloboli. It's too late. The debt will be postponed for one day. Wait until I adjust my biological clock. Chapter 564. Infantry tank coordination under the steel giant. Take Tiger and rush out of here. After Mandafish left, Jack took over the command by default. Although Tiger was a great hero of the fishmen, Jack did not grow up on Fishman Island. He admired Kaido's force, not Tiger. In his opinion, these old weaklings were not qualified to command him. Arceus handed the command to Mandafish. In this case, he naturally had to obey the other party's order to retreat. The huge trunk swept across the ground, and a large area of the Navy surrounding Tiger disappeared, and a gap appeared in the encirclement. There was no skill or technique, it was just the trunk wielded by its own brute force. The body made of strange bronze brought a huge weight, and the huge body made this advantage more obvious. The size of an adult giant is over 12 meters. Although the height of the king bronze elephant that Jack transformed was only 10 meters, that was just the height. With the exaggerated beast body, Jack has become a terrifying war beast. For the top strong men, this size difference may not mean much, but for the navy who surrounded Tiger with the advantage of numbers, Jack represented a crushing victory. The huge body gradually accelerated, and an unstoppable tank had rushed into the navy camp. Boom, boom, boom. Every step the giant elephant took made a muffled sound, and the surrounding ground even shook slightly. Shoot. Shoot quickly. Size is a step that humans cannot cross. Although there are vice admirals from the giants in the navy, the deterrent power of beasts on humans is far greater than that of other subhuman races. The leading officer overcame his inner fear and issued a new order, which also pointed out the direction for the confused soldiers. They did not collapse in the face of Jack's running, which showed the difference between them and the miscellaneous soldiers in the world. Bang, 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 boom. The navy found the direction with the order, and the dense bullets immediately turned their guns and shot at Jack, and several cannons pushed over also began to pour fire in the direction of Jack. Although they were powerless, this was the only thing they could do. The weapons in their hands were their last resort. But Jack was not Tiger. Under Kaido's devilish training, he had already mastered the two-color haki at the age of 16. However, he didn't even need haki in this situation. The explosion of the shells caused a lot of gunpowder smoke, but the sound coming from the smoke was very special. There were no screams, no muffled sounds of bullets entering the flesh, only crisp metallic sounds. In the smoke, caused by the shells, Jack rushed out unscathed. The bullets hit him, and only made a sound, and then he fell to the ground powerlessly. Moo. The elephant's trunk waved, and the elephant's hooves trampled. The encirclement that trapped Tiger was no different from paper under Jack's impact. Brother Jinbei. The members of the Sun Pirates following behind were already dazed. They had seen a lot of things in the 3 years of sailing, but it was the first time that the fisherman could break through the navy's defense line on land. Don't worry about it, follow him, and rescue Brother Tay first. Jack is obviously a person with special abilities. Jinbei doesn't know why he can swim, but it's probably the same principle as Mandafesh. The most important thing at the moment is to rescue Tiger first, and everything else can be postponed. Following the line of defense that Jack broke through, Jinbei and other fishermen immediately rushed up. With Jack's huge body blocking them, the navy's guns and cannons couldn't hurt them at all. Although they had never been drilled, an alternative infantry tank coordination appeared on this island. Arsehole, don't be so presumptuous. Looking at Jack who was rushing around, Strawberry jumped into the sky with the moon step and swung his fist at Jack's eyes. Graduating from Zephyr's recruit camp, 6 styles and haki are both required courses. Being able to become a major general means that he is also a leader among the students. If nothing unexpected happens, he can be promoted to vice general after a few more years. But he was not qualified for this now. Facing Strawberry's attack, Jack did not try to dodge. He knew very well that he could not dodge the opponent's attack at all. Instead of wasting his energy like that, he might as well do something more meaningful. A layer of silver white metallic light flashed on his bronze skin, and then his broad trunk was covered with domineering aura. After several years of training, his trunk had become more flexible than his arms. The metal trunk with the blessing of the iron wall greatly improved its defense, and the blessing of domineering aura made him wear a harder layer of armor. The trunk blocked Strawberry's attack, and the feedback from his body made Jack smile contemptuously. Is this the power of a rear admiral? It's totally impossible. The trunk took advantage of the situation and slapped Strawberry, but it only hit the ground. Relying on his body skills, Strawberry still dodged the attack, but the hat he wore on the top of his hair flew out. With the help of the 6 style body skills, his attacks hit Jack several times, but it didn't hurt at all. Although Jack didn't hit him, it became extremely difficult for him to stop Jack's steps. The most important thing is that there is no other admiral officer in the navy here except him, but there is a Jinbei following behind Jack. According to the original timeline, Jinbei took over the Sun Pirates after Tiger's death, and was called the Sea Knight. He was indeed given this title because he was a little righteous, but when it comes to rescuing Tiger, he will not talk about righteousness. I'll help you. The other navy couldn't even stop Jack. The only one who could entangle him was Strawberry. It can be said that, as long as he was dealt with, Tiger would be safe. Strawberry was too flexible for Jack, but it was different for Jinbei. Fishman Karate Sammy was Enquin. Jinbei jumped up and appeared behind Strawberry. He punched Strawberry in the back with a punch that had been charged for a long time. He was concentrating on avoiding Jack's attack and didn't notice Jinbei. When he found out, it was too late. Even if he defended in time, he was still punched out by Jinbei. He was no match for Jinbei in the first place and was severely injured by Jinbei in the original timeline. This time, he just happened to fall on Jack's nose. Hey, I've got you now. The muscles on the trunk began to exert force, and Strawberry immediately felt a huge pressure. Then Jack raised his trunk high and hit him directly into the ground with a powerful whip. Then Jack raised his front limbs and was about to give Strawberry a fatal blow with a mountain pressure, but a laser from a distance stopped his attack. Chapter 565. The Battle Between the Slackers. What a scary monster, but can you please not attack my subordinates? Otherwise, it will be very difficult for me to deal with it when I return. Borsalino was the only one who could launch a laser attack at this stage. He said Jack was scary, but there was no tension in his eyes. He was the least afraid of such a big opponent. His huge and bulky body was a living target, and his heavy attacks could not hit him, so his threat was infinitely close to zero. Don't be distracted when fighting me. Don't look down on me. The blue dragon claw brushed past his face. Although it was dangerous, he managed to dodge it. Mandafesh, why would someone like you appear here? This matter has nothing to do with you. I received a call for help before I finished my tea. Because I have a mission, I also want to rest at home. Otherwise, you pretended not to see it. How about we leave separately? It's a good suggestion, but no, you are a pirate. If I'll let you go like this, you will be scolded by Sengoku-san. How about you surrender? My tea is still very good. Impelton can prepare a single room for you. Oh, no, you shouldn't be sent there. The scientific core is very curious about you. Kaido second. The ability is extremely similar to Kaido, and someone discovered that Mandafesh seems to have the ability to swim, which makes the upper level officials very curious about him. But his ability is difficult to capture, so there is no fuss to do such a thing. No matter how much Kizaru slacks off, he is still a candidate for the future 3 admirals, and slacking off is only relative. A person who only slacks off and does not do anything can't be promoted to a high level position. An excellent slacker must learn to work at the right time. The current situation is an opportunity for Borsalino. The same goes for rescuing Stolberg. Stolberg, who was also a student of Zephyr's training camp and a general of the headquarters, is now a member of his faction. He certainly couldn't let Jack deal another fatal blow. Sorry, I'm not interested in tea or being studied. Water Dragon. Mandafesh's tail rolled up a stream of water. This was Watertail, but it was his version of Watertail. After Watertail approached Borsalino, a powerful water blade instantly spurted out from the gaps between the scales on the tail. Combined with the rotation of Watertail, Mandafesh was like pulling out a water razor, trying to wrap Borsalino in it. The attributes of Mega Evolved Gyarados have changed from Water plus Flying to Water plus Evil, but this does not mean that he has become slower, because Mega Evolution makes him lose the speed that he is proud of. There are very few Pokémon, such as a poor Garchomp. The speed itself has not changed. Mega Evolution also makes Gyarados more powerful. Combined with the special changes in its body, Mandafeather is more flexible and swift than before. There are many ways for Pokémon to fly, and wings are just one of them. The Mega Gyarados borrowed the flying method of Garchomp, but changed from jet to water jet. Mega Gyarados can spit out supersonic water from the gaps between its scales. The powerful water flow can not only provide stronger power, but also be used as a means of attack in the form of water blades. It's really a dangerous attack. The ability to use water should make those guys more curious, but do you really have enough physical strength? He also consumed his own physical strength when releasing the laser, so in Borsalino's opinion, Mandafeather's water is also converted from physical strength. This attack method may not be long before there is no water left. However, he was only half right. Water type Pokemon users have an unscientific ability to store water. Most of what Manderfish is releasing now is the seawater stored when he was transformed. The disadvantage is that, if he turns back to human, all this water will be released in advance. Therefore, Manderfish will not store water in advance when he is not in combat. He can also use the water from the outside world, or convert his physical strength into water. As long as he is not in the desert, there is no need to worry about any problems. You, the Navy, don't have to worry about this, and it's time to come. Boom. Several thunderbolts sounded in the sky, thick clouds covered the sun, and heavy rain poured down. The ground became muddy in the blink of an eye. Did you know it would rain? I have always had good luck. Unlike you who were monsters from the beginning, I relied on good luck to get to where I'm today step by step. He was lucky to get the opportunity to get a reward, lucky to find the stone slab by slapping the table, and lucky to meet Rusalka. He believed that his achievements were inevitably related to that weird luck. But this rain was indeed his work. He started praying for rain when he saw the flash, but the rain came a little late. It's raining. Looking at the rain in the sky, the fishermen who rushed over showed joy on their faces. They are aquatic races. Even on land, with the help of rain, they can exert stronger combat power. The Navy's defense line had been breached long ago, and Tiger was also carried on the shoulders of two fishermen, and began to retreat towards the coast. Retreat. Don't waste time. Looking at Strawberry in the deep pit, Jack did not continue to attack. Manderfish said that Borsalino was difficult, so he must be really difficult. The longer they stay here, the greater the hidden danger to Manderfish. It seems that the other party will not let him kill his subordinates, so there is no need to waste time here. After cancelling the transformation, Jack began to rush towards the coast. Jinbei and the others had no intention of fighting. The entire Sun Pirates covered Tiger and began to approach the sea. Borsalino did not ignore Manderfish and attack Tiger and the others because there was a small gap on his collar, which was the result of Manderfish's fight just now. He was not afraid of the opponent in front of him, but he could not underestimate him. It was not wise for him to attack others in front of him. Moreover, Tiger could be killed later, and Manderfish's value was much greater than Tiger. It seems that you have decided to cover their retreat. You are really a good brother. I will cover their retreat, but you know, the result of the divination is that I will return safely. Oh, you actually believe in divination? Not too much, but the divination of that little girl has not been wrong. In order to prevent her reputation from being in trouble, I have to work hard. At this time, the scales on Manderfish's body spread slightly around, and his body also made a special posture, with his arms slightly bent and his elbows facing the outside world. Dragon Dance Water Spin Kill. With the blessing of the Dragon Dance, Manderfish began to dance, and at the same time, the gaps in the scales on his body were spraying water. Chapter 566. Unpredictable Retreat Method. With the power provided by the rotation, the water flow formed a sharp water blade, and he became a dangerous gyroscope. Borsalino had rescued Strawberry before, and Manderfish wanted to try to see if Borsalino could ignore the casualties of his men. His battle required a lot of water, and in order to save energy, he would use prayers to change the weather. But water alone could not deal with Borsalino, and he was not Crocodile, and he would lose the ability to elementalize once his body was soaked in water. The rain produced by prayers comes from the moisture in the air. Although it contains pee particles that the ability uses fear, it is not enough. Unless the opponent is soaked in seawater, he will not fall into a state of powerlessness. But Mega Gyarados is different, because after Mega Evolution, its characteristics immediately change to abnormal, and abnormal attacks can make the opponent's characteristics invalid to a certain extent. In other words, facing Manderfish's attack, if Borsalino wants to use the passive of the natural system to evade, it is likely to overturn, and the bloody marks on his shoulder at this time are evidence. For some reason, the water blade did not turn his body into light, but instead a bloody wound appeared. It was not domineering, but it was very strange. If the opponent's attack really had a way to be immune to elementalization, then why didn't he use this method all the time? At present, it seemed that this was a random attack. A small wound made Borsalino make a new judgment, but after that, he began to avoid the water blade released by Manderfish in advance. He didn't want to gamble on the opponent's skill hit rate. But as Manderfish rotated, the attack range of his water blade gradually expanded, and finally expanded to the range of other navy. This guy is the same. After all, he is a pirate. Normal naval generals would not sit idly by and watch others slaughter their subordinates, unless they were forced to do so. Sakazuki would not sit idly by and watch such behavior. He could send some of the navy to become sacrifices because of combat missions. That was inevitable in war. Soldiers could die in battle, but not in this way. Borsalino would naturally not sit idly by and watch. He was not afraid of anyone compared to large-scale attacks. At most, he would just outline them. Sitting back and watching subordinates being slaughtered is basically non-existent in the Navy. The most unfortunate one was that Zephyr was unable to protect his students because of his strength. A large number of lasers shot out in all directions, blocking Manderfish's water blades that attacked the surrounding navy, but Manderfish still achieved his goal. His attacks seemed to be irregular, but in fact he had a main goal long ago. It's just that this target is not a certain person, but the island under his feet. Before coming here, he carefully studied Foreshad Island. This island seems to have a desert climate, with huge cacti growing everywhere on the ground, but there are a large number of villagers settled, which shows that they have a stable water source. This is also the characteristic of Foreshad Island. Although there is no big river on the ground, there is an underground river under the island. Manderfish's attack is to open up the passage to the underground river, which is the escape route he planned. When he was behind, he would definitely prepare an unexpected escape route, which is why Jack did not hesitate at all. Manderfish's ability to save his life and his thinking are also very famous among the beasts. This heavy rain was not only to improve their combat power, but also to cover up the situation on the ground. Due to the attacks of the two, the ground wetted by the rain became riddled with holes, and it was impossible to see what happened. As Manderfish's early attack ended, Borsalino also arrived in front of the opponent. Except for the bloody wound on his arm at the beginning, Borsalino had no injuries on his body. I heard that you use numbers to show your strength, so you are actually the strongest. Looking at the number 1 on Manderfish's shoulder, Borsalino began to praise the other party, with a lot of joking in his words. So your strength should exceed that of Zorora. Then you should have more terrifying abilities, right? Ha, the intelligence from the Navy is not bad, but who told you that I'm the strongest? No number does not mean weakness, it may mean that he does not need this number. What a complicated pattern. Why don't you go back and talk to me slowly, or do you want to experience the feeling of being kicked by light? As soon as the voice fell, Borsalino's legs flashed with dazzling light and kicked at Manderfish, but this attack was blocked by his crossed arms. You are worthy of being a monster Vice Admiral of the Navy, but unfortunately, my mission has been completed. I will tell Lord Zorora to reminisce with you. As he said this, he fell downwards with the kick of Borsalino. By this time, Jack and the others should have withdrawn. In this case, he should also slip away. Manderfish, who fell to the ground, did not appear again. When Borsalino fell, he found that there was a big hole in the ground, and there was the sound of rushing water inside. Underground river? What a cunning guy. Borsalino gave up the idea of chasing, and just shot a tracing jade at the bottom. Even he couldn't find where a person who entered the water would go. This is why the Navy, although curious about the other party, has not taken any action. According to calculations, the success rate of capturing Quinn on the sea is greater than the success rate of capturing Manderfish. He would naturally take action if he had a chance, but the other party had already run away. Even if he was careless, he would not deliberately chase the other party. He and Manderfish are not mortal enemies. He even has a feeling that, if the two are not in the enemy camp, they may get along very happily. Vice Admiral Borsalino. Major General Stalobri is dying. Just as he was thinking about the entrance to the underground river, the Navy next to him reported. Although he blocked Jack's subsequent finishing blow, Jinbe's punch and Jack's powerful whip had already hit him. At this time, you can see that his towering hair has been crooked. In fact, it was not just hair, but his head. According to the original timeline, His hair was covered with bandages, which can be inferred that this guy also had a strange head shape. I will take him back to the warship for treatment first. You should take the other wounded and return as soon as possible. Borsalino turned into a flash of light and left with still Aubrey. After that, the thunder clouds over the island also dissipated. However, some people's doubts did not disappear. Mom, was it really just thunder just now? Curla looked out the window and asked her mother, who had been separated for a long time, in confusion. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 567. Darling, it's time to take medicine. Yes, Curla, it was just thunder. The family members in the room were all smiling. At first, the sound of gunfire was not obvious, but as the battle intensified and the sky changed, Curla also noticed the abnormality outside the village. However, everyone in the village told her in unison that it was just thunder and nothing happened. Come on, Curla, this is a new dress for you, try it on. Pulling Curla back from the window, her mother gave her a brand new set of clothes. When she saw the mark of the sun pirates on her back, her heart was shaken, but she quickly covered it up. She didn't want her daughter to be taken away again. Although it was unfair to the fishman to do so, he was just a fishman. Not long ago, at the seaside, Arlang and the remaining fishermen were fighting against the warships that were besieging them. Destroy their rudders. The injured ones hide in the water, and Brother Jinbei will definitely bring Big Brother back. Idiot. Leave one good one behind. We still have to retreat. Arlang commanded another part of the Sun Pirates to fight with these navy. Their ships had been destroyed by gunfire, and all the fishermen had dived into the deep sea. After they approached from underwater, the firing range of the ship's guns could no longer attack them, and the bullets of the flintlock rifles could not cause effective damage due to the resistance of the seawater. However, the fishermen could easily destroy the opponent's rudder underwater with their own explosive power. The fishermen of different races also have their own special abilities. Using their own racial talents, they fought guerrilla warfare freely in the vast ocean. Brother Arlang. Brother Jinbei is back. Okay, go and pick them up. Tiger had many wounds on his body, but because of the nature of the fishermen, they had a special resistance to wounds in contact with water, so it was not a big deal. However, looking at the warship that Arlang had robbed, Jack had no intention of getting on board. We can't get on the ship, we have to go underwater. Huh. But Boss Tiger needs to rest. If we don't treat him quickly. Aladdin, the ship's doctor, expressed a different opinion. The fishermen were not afraid of water when they were injured, but he couldn't treat them in the turbulent sea current. The Navy ship had a more complete treatment room, and he wanted to use the equipment on the ship. Our ship is not too far from here. Brother Manderfish can't hold that Navy fort so long. If we seize the warship, we will be targets. Go underwater and wait for Brother Manderfish to come back. Listen to him. Let's go. That Navy is really hard to deal with. There was no chance to waste time now. Jinbei quickly agreed with Jack's words and gave up the warship that Arlang had robbed. This time, even Arlang didn't raise any opinions, because Manderfish was actually covering for Tiger. Tiger occupied too high a position in his heart, and even he didn't want to say anything rude at this time. Under Jack's leadership, they quickly returned to Manderfish's ship. Where's Big Brother? Big Brother is covering the rear, and will be back soon. This is the target of this mission. He is seriously injured. Hurry up and treat him. Jack briefly explained the situation to Paimon, and then sent Tiger to the medical room. After boarding the ship, the members of the Sun Pirates were clearly divided into two parts. One part was the fishermen who had originally joined the beasts and served as subordinates under Manderfish, and fishermen like Hachi and Jinbei who accepted the kindness of humans. The other part of the fishermen were wary of these people and were not confident in handing Tiger over to them. Surrounded by them, several people entered the medical room with Aladdin. The doctor on the ship quickly came to the conclusion that the injury itself was not fatal, but the blood loss was too much, and Aladdin also agreed with this conclusion. Then, the treatment could be completed by removing the bullet, suturing the wound and transfusing blood. What's your boss's blood type? S-type right hand. Only Brother Tiger has this blood type on our ship. Does your blood bank have it? Ordinary pirate ships don't have blood banks. Although the ship of the beasts is much more advanced than ordinary ships, normal ships will only store the blood types of the soldiers on board. The space on the ship is limited, and the blood types in the pirate world are particularly complicated. If all types are stored, it will not fit. S-type right hand? No, this blood type is too rare. Lord Arceus guessed it right. Hey, where is the medicine given by Lord Arceus? During treatment, the ship's doctor has the highest status on the ship. This is an iron rule on the ship. At this time, he can order anyone on the ship. The people on the ship looked at each other, and finally looked at Pillman. Don't look at me. Brother Manderfish always carries it with him. Here, Brother Manderfish gave me the medicine before. Jack outside handed the medicine over. This ship was Manderfish's flagship. Jack's size was not taken into consideration when it was designed. As he grew taller, the treatment room could no longer accommodate him, so he could only wait outside. Okay, just inject this, and you will recover slowly. He was going to inject the medicine into Tiger, but Tiger, as the person involved, seemed to be a little resistant. This medicine, is it made by humans? No, this is a special medicine made by God. As long as you have a breath left, it can bring you back. Tiger's words were originally blocked by the ship's doctor. Manderfish's support saved him, and he recognized this favor, but the beating by the Navy broke his inner defense line. He wanted to say that he didn't want to accept human medicine and blood, even if it meant death, but the doctor's words made his mind completely short-circuited. Before he could react, he stabbed him with a needle. Wait, you don't even want to do an allergy test? Ah, that's not necessary. Lord Arceus's medicine can be used by anyone. Unless you are a blasphemer, you will definitely not die. Aladdin, who was also a doctor on the ship, was stunned by these words. It stands to reason that human technology has developed much faster than that of Fishman Island, which can be seen from the medical equipment in this room, but he never expected that a doctor using such advanced equipment would say such superstitious words. However, the effect of the medicine was immediate. Less than a minute after the injection, Tiger fell asleep, but his breathing became much more stable, and the bleeding wound stopped bleeding, and even began to heal. No wonder he wanted to remove the bullet from the wound before starting treatment. It's okay, Brother Tiger is saved. The news quickly spread among the fishermen on the boat, and cheers rang out one after another. Although Alan was very happy, after receiving the news, he stared at the sea with a serious look. What's wrong, Alan? Brother Jinbei, why hasn't that liar Manderfish come back yet? Chapter 568, Baptism of Doctrine. You actually care about a human, Aaron. It seems that you are not hopeless. Don't talk nonsense. I don't believe in humans, but if that guy really covers for Big Brother, maybe there are a few different humans. Sitting on the deck against the cabin, Aaron didn't say anything, and Jinbei didn't know what he was thinking. Hey, big guy, didn't Manderfish say before that our whereabouts were revealed by a businessman? Glancing down at Aaron, Jack dealt with Aaron casually. Brother Manderfish said that it is possible that no one except him knows your destination. Didn't you notify them when you were about to arrive? Even if the residents of Forshut Island reported it in advance, the Navy couldn't have ambushed nearby so quickly. The G2 branch is several days away from here. That bastard Aaron is very unhappy now. Tiger was ambushed by the Navy, and a man like Manderfish appeared who broke his understanding of humans, so he wanted to find a place to vent, and those who betrayed them were undoubtedly the best targets. Because Tiger didn't allow him to kill people at will, and even Tiger wouldn't agree to do things casually, he needed a chance with a reason, such as reasonable revenge. Brother Jinbei, come with me. You also hate those who betrayed us. But when he said this, there was a movement on the sea. Manderfish had returned here. Don't be stupid, Aaron. Do you think the Navy is stupid? After this operation, they will definitely leave ambushes in those places. You will die if you go there. Who is idle? Bring me a set of dry clothes. After swimming a long circle in the underground river, Manderfish also returned here. Unexpectedly, he heard Aaron's arrogant words before he got on the boat. But this time Aaron's reaction was very different. He turned around and left without saying anything. Did this guy get hit on the head and become stupid? Maybe he suddenly figured it out. Mr. Manderfish, thank you for helping us save Brother Tiger. I'm very grateful for this. Please let me know if you need anything in the future. Although Arlong walked away rudely, Jinbei did not. He still expressed his gratitude to Manderfish for the rescue. Don't be so polite. We have our own goals. If he dies, Fishman Street will be in chaos. Let's go back to Fishman Island first. You have to stay out of the spotlight first. I have to discuss some things with your brother Tiger in person. After taking the towel and clothes handed over by his subordinates, Manderfish restored his human appearance and wiped his hair, but Arlong suddenly turned back. Manderfish, if it were you, I wouldn't have a big problem with Shirley. Huh? What nonsense are you talking about? It's good that you know it yourself. I know a little bit about what happened on Fishman Island. Ask your ship's doctor to check his brain. I think he's not normal recently. Looking at the blue fat man beside him, Manderfish felt it necessary to remind him. It was just that this was indeed some kind of misunderstanding. After Aaron left, Manderfish helped take care of the underage Shirley. She got along well with Rusoka, so sometimes he took her away with him. But Aaron didn't think so. Although he only took care of Shirley for a short time and didn't care about this sister, Aaron would definitely not agree if she really found a human as a partner. In his opinion, Manderfish, who took care of his sister every day, was not so pure, but after this time, his thoughts were shaken. Since Long, the biggest rebel, temporarily compromised, under the instigation of fishmen such as Hachi and Jinpei, the two pirate groups got along quite well, and even held a small banquet. However, Manderfish did not participate. He came to the medical room to visit Tiger. Don't pretend. You woke up a long time ago. How do you know? You don't know what medicine you used. It was a special ration given to the Carters by Lord Arceus. Since you are not dead, you can't be unconscious for so long. What? Do you have a big problem with living? Listening to Manderfish's question, Tiger was silent for a long time. Through the window, he could see the fishmen on the deck laughing and talking, and even Arlong appeared there early. Although he did not participate, at least he did not hide from everyone, which was a great improvement. Even Arlong, that bastard, will change. What are you still hesitating about? Following the direction Tiger looked, Manderfish also saw the situation over there, so he continued to ask him. Arceus' order was to have a living tiger. Now that he was rescued, if he committed suicide, it would be in vain. In order to complete the mission smoothly, Manderfish simply played the role of a psychologist. You should know about the slaves, right? And the time a few years ago, when you were inexplicably targeted on Fishman Island. After a long time, Tiger still told Manderfish what happened that year. I found that I couldn't do it. I wanted to forget those things. I wanted the Fishman tribe to change their lifestyle. But, mentioning those things, Tiger couldn't help but clench his fists, and the whites of his eyes were filled with bloodshot. Idiot. Huh. I said you are an idiot. You are no longer afraid of death because of what happened that year. So what are you afraid of? Even if you are going to die, you should at least take your enemies to hell with you. A word awakens a dreamer. Hatred is always the most effective motivation. Manderfish's words seemed to make Tiger understand something. No, that's not right. The celestial dragons have powerful guards, and even if they can kill him, the conflict of the race of the fishmen killing the celestial dragons will really be over. So why don't you think further? Killing a celestial dragon is a felony, but making this group disappear is not. Later, when the people outside were having a banquet, Manderfish told Tiger about Kaido's subversive ideas and the teachings of the Arceus cult for a night. According to Tiger's feedback, he seemed to have been successfully baptized. At least he has seen hope in Tiger. You're right, it would be a pity to die like this. I also want to see what it's like for children to live in the real sunshine. With a new goal, Tiger also walked out, pushed open the door, and joined the banquet outside. Listening to the carnival of the fishmen outside, Manderfish couldn't help but take out a small notebook with the exquisite Kaien Saurus icon engraved on the cover. This thing compiled by Sister Misu is quite useful. Chapter 569 Tiger's Death. Religious thought still has a great influence, especially when some people's faith collapses or their spirit breaks down. Something that seemingly reasonable will become his life-saving straw. When the other party thinks that this idea is what they are pursuing, the spread of religion will become particularly rapid, especially in barren places, where a bag of food is enough to change people's beliefs, although that belief is not sincere, and many people just want to eat. But as time goes by, there will always be people who change in the huge base. The current situation is particularly special. Tiger seems to have changed a little. Compared with sailing aimlessly, he has more ideas. Big brother, are you okay? Seeing Tiger coming out, Aaron's mood was obviously much higher. Well, it's okay now. I'm very well now. Due to Tiger's appearance, the celebration on the ship continued for another day. Many carefree fishermen were already drunk, but Tiger found Jinbei. Jinbei, what's wrong, brother Tay? I still remember what that navy said. I'm afraid the world government has already set its sights on me. If I go back to Fishman Island like this, it will be a trouble for the Ryugu kingdom. If I continue to lead you, I will also be a threat to you. For the world government, my death is the best outcome. Wait. Brother Tay, you're not going to do anything stupid, are you? Jinbei suddenly had a bad feeling after hearing Tiger say these to him, as if he was telling him his last words. You misunderstood, Jinbei. You are the only ones who know whether I'm dead or alive, so I need the outside world to spread the news that I'm dead. I need you to take others to attack a group of navy and tell the navy that I died of excessive blood loss. But brother Tay, what about Fishman Island in that case? You should have heard the reason why they came to rescue you. I know, we have discussed it. This is a way out for the world government. What they care about most is face. If I don't die once, they will never be able to explain. As long as I show up on Fishman Island, the people will believe that I'm not dead, and there will be no problem. But what if the news is passed back to the world government? It doesn't matter. Their action has been successful, and I'm dead. As long as they don't show off in public, they won't continue to waste their energy on a dead man. All the world government needs is a result, and after they send out the news of Tiger's death, they will not make a big fuss, even if they find out that Tiger is still alive, because that would be slapping themselves in the face. So Jinbei, the Sun Pirates will be handed over to you from now on. What about you? If you don't go back to Fishman Island, where are you going, brother Tay? I heard that there are many fishmen living in Mandafesh's territory. I'll go there first, and then if there is a chance, I'll go to see the new world. Jinbei thought that Tiger was going to enter a more dangerous sea, but the new world he mentioned was completely different from the new world that Jinbei understood. Later, the Sun Pirates, led by Jinbei, launched their own revenge action against the navy. As they sank several warships, the news of Tiger's death was published in the newspaper, and Borsalino also completed his mission, but the casualties were a bit heavy. After being nagged by Sengoku for an hour, Borsalino came to the Navy's hospital to visit his injured men. To sum up the current Strawberry in one sentence, he is not dead, but has undergone plastic surgery. Well, Strawberry, maybe you should change your hairstyle. Strawberry was suddenly shorter for no reason, because his originally straight head was now bent backwards like a nightcap. The green pepper at that time had a deep understanding of this pain. Lieutenant General Borsalino, you are joking. Can't your head recover? The doctor said that the degree of bending just compresses the key nerves, and it is best to maintain it like this. Get well soon. By the way, according to the feedback from the fishermen, Tiger should be dead, and the credit is still counted on you. After a few pleasantries, Borsalino left here, and Strawberry won a new military merit at the cost of his crooked head. There was also a crooked head general in the navy, and Mandafesh and his men had just arrived near the Fishman Island. When the ship was coated, the fishermen returned to the Fishman Island in advance. They did not have a hard demand for coating, but Aaron obviously had a lot of opinions about Tiger's fake death. Big brother, there's no need to be like this. Are you afraid of that group of navy? Aaron, after so many years of sailing, haven't you felt a gap in strength? Put down your arrogance. This world is bigger than you think. This incident also proves the Navy's own military power. It's meaningless to drag the entire Fishman Island into the abyss. But I have to praise you for one thing. Well, what did I do? At least you are now called a navy, not a human. Reducing the scope from the entire tribe to a few fixed enemies is a rare progress for Aaron. By the way, Eren, you can follow me out to see it later. Okay. Big brother, I still want to follow you more than following brother Jinbei. He thought this was Tiger's respect for him, but in fact, it was completely Tiger's worry that Jinbei could not control Eren and caused him to do something out of the ordinary, so he decided to take Eren away with him. Even if Tiger's words were completely contrary to Eren's ideas, Eren would still choose to refer to them. Only Tiger could do this in the entire Fishman Island. Then they returned to Fishman Island. The fishermen who heard the news of Tiger's death were very sad, but Tiger appeared in front of them alive again. Tiger told other fishermen not to publicize it too much, because he wanted to continue the adventure, so he faked his death and escaped. Just know it in your heart. Now that the news of his death has spread, as long as he doesn't go to the naval base to dance, even if the news spreads, it will be an assassination by a small force at most. After staying in Fishman Island for 2 days, Tiger left with a few fishermen and Mandafesh, while Jinbei waited for the new ship to be built before continuing his journey. However, Mandafesh felt a little strange. There seemed to be more and more strange people in his private territory. In the waters of the Grand Line, it was still the Red Gyarados. At this time, it was taking its own tribe to Wano country. The reason why it went there in advance was because of the stone slab wrapped under its body. Chapter 570, King's Proof. The reason why Magikarp was allowed to expand to the outside world was to increase their own eyes. Magikarp's tenacious vitality and strong adaptability also allowed them to quickly gain a foothold in the sea, but there has been no news for several years, but instead there have been more Magikarp pilgrimages on the sea. Especially as time goes by, some Magikarp from all over the world find it dangerous to cross the calm belt, and instead, like those pirates, they begin to go upstream along the current of the upside down mountain. This happens about 3 days a year, and these 3 days have become the day of death for newcomers. If someone is not clear about the situation in the sea and crosses the upside down mountain during these days, there is a high probability that they will be blocked by dense Magikarp. If they try to attack, they will be attacked by Gyarados, which is the biggest ordeal for newcomers. One Magikarp is not scary, but these Magikarp gradually develop a sense of group consciousness like the weaklings due to the environment of the Grand Line. In this way, the Magikarp group led by Gyarados is very terrifying. The slates were scattered all over the world, from the Sky Island to the deep sea. They could be found everywhere. Their location was very complicated over the past few hundred years. Originally, this Gyarados could not find it, but it led other Gyarados to fight a Sea King in the deep sea. During the battle, a destructive death ray missed and hit the ground, smashing a coral reef on the seabed. Then a strange stone appeared inside. Unlike those broken coral reefs, this slate looked very neat. It was the gene engraved in the bones of the Gyarados. Finding it was their mission. So this Gyarados rolled up the slate and started his new pilgrimage. Now their pilgrimage has become safer and safer because the creatures in the sea have recognized the status of Gyarados. Those Magikarp are weak and stuck in their teeth. If it were not to help digest other food, most Sea Kings would not touch them, but those sea beasts leading Magikarp are very dangerous. Although it is of average size, it has a peculiar way of attacking. Ordinary sea beasts will take the initiative to stay away from Gyarados, and even Sea Kings are unwilling to provoke them. Gyarados have raised their status in the marine food chain. Crossing the dangerous sea, the red Gyarados gradually reach the holy sea of Wano country. This is Gyarados' understanding of the nearby sea area. As long as it reaches that dangerous sea area, it will reach its own holy land, but this time it entered Wano country in a very special way. When it just saw the outer barrier of Wano country, the sea water around it changed. A water dragon soared into the sky, and a new passage appeared in front of it. It felt a familiar breath in the water channel and immediately swam along this waterway to Wano country. This passage is naturally the work of Arceus. When the stone slab appeared at this distance, its breath was naturally sensed. He could directly retrieve the stone slab, but he had to see who brought it back. Godfather, what happened? Arceus' expression was full of joy at this time. You should know that Arceus' face rarely showed such intense emotional fluctuations. Even Yamato beside him became curious. Of course something good has happened. Let's go and see the great hero this time. The giant Gyarados living near Wano country also looked at the younger generation above. In the eyes of creatures of other races, Gyarados' expression was only ferocious, but they, as members of the same race, saw more. They felt a lot of cocky emotions from the younger generation, but they could understand why it was so cocky, because it had won the honor bestowed by Arceus. On the shore of Onigashima, the red Gyarados placed the stone slab it brought on the shore and let out a slightly excited roar. Well, I see. This is exactly what I want. Who? Don't get excited. You're a good girl. Let me think about what to give you. Who you can't refuse. This is what you deserve. You're the first little guy to complete this task in so many years. Wait, Godfather. No, it's a girl. Hearing Arceus' name, Yamato felt something was wrong, because Arceus called this Gyarados a girl. With the power of Evergreen, she can communicate with Pokémon, so she can understand what Gyarados is saying to Arceus, and can also hear the voices of different Pokémon, but she really didn't expect this result. The voices of other Pokémon around her are much softer than Gyarados. This is a racial trait. Gyarados have a rougher voice. Look at her beard. The color of male Gyarados beard is the same as its scales, but the beard of a female Gyarados is white regardless of the color. After explaining to Yamato how to distinguish the gender of a Gyarados, the abilities of the other slates began to work, and a small crown appeared in Arceus' energy hand. From now on, you are the queen of all Gyarados. This is your proof. With it, you can command all the Gyarados in the sea. A rock crown inlaid with jewel-like objects appeared on her head. It was not an ordinary crown, but a certificate of kingship inlaid with Gyarados Megastone. Megastone is naturally the possession that ordinary Pokémon need to Mega Evolve. Unlike the ability users, only a few powerful Pokémon can evolve without relying on external forces. Most Pokémon need this external force, but she does not need to find a trainer for this Megastone created by Arceus. The certificate of kingship is a prop required for some Pokémon to evolve specially. Carrying it can also make your attacks have special effects. But now, as the name implies, this is proof of her identity as the Queen of Gyarados. Different Gyarados tribes naturally have their own kings, but that is to establish their status through competition of strength. She is different now. With this, she is the legitimate king of the tribe, and her status is completely unshakable. This special certificate of the king is the proof of her royal inheritance. Then the certificate of the king was integrated into the crown-shaped symbol on her head, and it continued to transmit special power into her body. My lord, I want a name given by you. Although Gyarados' big mouth could not be closed, she clearly expressed her meaning in human language at this time. Name. Let me think about it. You and your tribe stay here for a while, and I will prepare something else for you. Chapter 571. Queen Gyarados, a brand new slate. There are many things in the warehouse of the Beast's pirates that are almost covered in dust, such as a certain human fruit that has never had a suitable eater. Human fruit, mythical beast species, denudal form. The description of its abilities is incomplete in the illustrated book, but as a mythical beast species, it must have special abilities in theory. The Great Buddha form of the Warring States period also has the ability of a golden body and shockwaves. It makes no sense that denudal cannot do anything. So this fruit has been stranded in the warehouse. Gyarados is an aquatic species, and eating a devil fruit is not a good thing for her. After all, it means sinking to the bottom. But she is the first Pokémon to bring back a stone tablet from the deep sea. Even if it is to encourage the enthusiasm of others, she will be rewarded heavily. The King's certificate and language ability are just one of them, and the denudal fruit is also included in it. Compared with humans, the human fruit is more suitable for suitable animals to eat. As for the problem of being afraid of water, he has to work overtime. After eliminating the side effects of the Great Mouth True God last time, he no longer wanted to do that troublesome job, but the appearance of the stone tablet made him decide to make an exception. Everyone who brought back the stone tablets got what he gave them. If we had to rank them, Sasuke got the worst, but that was the result of him worshipping only Kaido. He offended almost all the senior cadres except Kaido, but he still had the abilities he was given, and was integrated into the ranks of cadres. If he had paid more attention at the beginning, he might have gotten better things. Rotom, bring out the human fruit. Yes, Lotto, I'll find what you want right away. Under Autumn's intelligent processing system, the fruit was quickly delivered to Arceus. To ordinary people, it was just a devil fruit, but to Arceus, it was a trouble. Although he had experience in eliminating the side effects of the Great Mouth True God, that experience was not very useful for the Great Entrance fruit, because no devil fruit is exactly the same, which leads to completely different structures. Although Arceus's transformation experience is beneficial, it cannot be copied completely, but it is not without progress. He now has more stone tablets, which makes his power more comprehensive, and he can do this delicate handwork much faster than before. As for the properties of the slate, besides Arceus himself, Quinn should be the one who likes this slate the most, because it represents the poisonous slate with poisonous properties. With this slate, Arceus can make antibodies to any toxins, and can also freely generate terrifying toxins. For Quinn, who has not even studied the body fluids of the stinky mud, this means that his workload has increased again, but this increase also means that he will be in a state of pain and happiness. After all, this is his favorite thing. Arceus is preparing new things for Gyarados, and the tribe she leads also stayed in the inner sea of Onigashima, but her current status has become very transcendent. Logically speaking, these Gyarados living near Wano country are the first generation elders, but their mission is to guard the nearby waters, and have no interest in going out. It is their privilege to appear near Arceus every day, but today, one of their descendants has become the king of the tribe. It's not that unbalanced, because she is the king chosen by Arceus, and has the king's certificate given by Arceus. Unless she betrays Arceus, no Gyarados will disobey her. It's just that those Gyarados have not entered the inner sea yet. Their descendants, who are who knows how many generations later, have become the queens of the tribe. They are still a little embarrassed to face each other. Now only Yamato takes his Yukara to the coast every day, to talk to Gyarados about various deep sea things. Really? Is the deep sea so interesting? Interesting. Maybe. I don't know if it's interesting, but you can often find some interesting things in the deep sea. Gyarados said while twitching his tail and moving the seawater to the shore. Because Yukara was eating sand, there was no essential difference between the sand and sesame paste that stirred the seawater. Yamato talked with Gyarados for a long time, until Yukara ate a large piece of sand on the shore, and then took it away. I'll talk to you again in a few days. It's time for training again. Looking at Yamato leaving, Gyarados dived into the sea again, waiting for Arceus' return. And this wait lasted for 20 days. During these 20 days, someone brought her special food every day, all of which were made according to the taste of Gyarados. There were many Gyarados living in Wano country, and their tastes had long been known by the people of the beasts. Yamato also appeared here again, but there was an extra bandage on his head. And Gyarados finally waited for Arceus to come back with the fruit. Your Majesty, Nereus, this will be your name from now on. Nereus, thank you for the name. At this time, Nereus' eyes were full of smiles, and there was a touch of tenderness on his fierce face. And this, it's also for you, Arceus said as he threw the great path fruit he had processed into her mouth. The huge mouth allowed the devil fruit to slide directly in, and after that, she also noticed the changes in the fruit. Gyarados' body twisted and expanded again, and its scales formed new clothes. It had long white hair, but the two locks in front of its ears were red. The overall clothes were red, and its skin was fair. The iconic crown was still on its head, and its ears were also objects like Gyarados' dorsal fins. At this time, she had become a female sea giant. This was her human form, or the Dainayuti form. Because she was female, the Dainayuti fruit was completely different on her body, but it still retained its original huge size. Because the prototype of the fruit was a monster from Wano country, it also inherited some of the characteristics of a banshee, and her voice had also changed. It was no longer the original rude and hoarse voice. Although it was slightly neutral and cold, it would not cause any misunderstanding. Looking at her hands, she seemed not very familiar with her new body. Where do you want to stay in the future? You can choose this yourself. I'll continue to look for things for you, my lord. There are still many places I haven't been to in the vast ocean. I will work harder. Then I'll leave it to you, but don't be too reckless. Just keep everything as usual. Those islands were our territories before. You can go there to find help when needed. Your crown is a token of your love. Arceus has an energy hand made of stone energy. He doesn't need to say it every time. Chapter 572, Rhinoceros Beetle of the Insect Catchers. The iconic fin on her head has changed a lot. Not only is it inlaid with her mega stone, but the position is exactly the center of the thousand arms icon. The meaning of this logo is Arceus is confident, and it is more difficult to obtain than Kaido's flag. People outside are either the pirate flag of the beasts or the commercial flag of the beast fruit. There are very few people who can use the thousand arms logo alone. After Nereus got familiar with her body, she left here with her tribe and returned to the vast sea. For her who has been living as a Gyarados, the human body is not so convenient. With her departure, the Gyarados in Wano country breathed a sigh of relief. Nereus is even the great-granddaughter of some of them in terms of seniority. The younger generation is too powerful and has too high a status. It is not easy for them to get along with each other all the time. And Nereus' success also proves one thing, that is, it is meaningful to expand the number of Pokémon. Although it took several years for the Gyarados to find such a peace, it means that this path is feasible. There are enough Gyarados and Magikarp in the ocean, and Pokémon like Lapras and Stark also appear in the nearby ocean, but they can't go to land after all. Onyx is still digging holes under the Red Earth continent. After so many years, their number has increased, but Onyx can't dig to other islands. Magikarp can swim in the sea, but can't land on land. Because the search has been fruitless before, he has no intention of expanding the number of Pokémon, but now he can. If you want to expand quickly, flying is a necessary ability. Only in this way can you reach various islands. You can't have Pokémon like Shuttlecock Cotton and Wind Fairy that are mainly funny and weak in frontal combat. Although there are no Seekings on the island, there are a lot of strange beasts. Ancient creatures such as dinosaurs are the most basic things. They need to have the same tenacious vitality and adaptability as Magikarp, and they need to have a certain combat power. It's better not to look too strange, and it's better to be close to local species. For example, Gyarados, in most people's current cognition, is a naturally evolved creature, and in the eyes of a few people who know the inside story, it is a modified creature. No one has guessed that they were created out of thin air. Since no local scholars have seen the evolution of Magikarp, their ethnic relationship is currently considered to be a strange symbiotic relationship. Arceus has not yet planned to make this unstable world full of different types of Pokémon, but only sporadically improve the environment by a little bit with some ethnic groups. With strong vitality, the ability to fly, and an appearance that will not attract too many people's attention. Among many options, insect-type Pokémon have gradually become the target of choice. Well, let's just Heracross. There are many large rhinoceros beetles on those insect islands. Heracross, a one-horned Pokémon, has no difference in appearance from a rhinoceros beetle, and is at most regarded as a subspecies of a rhinoceros beetle. Their appearance can easily integrate into the local world. Except for the larvae, the vitality of insect-type Pokémon is very tenacious, and there is no need to worry about their military power. Heracross is covered with skin as hard as iron, which allows it to ignore most enemies. As for stronger ones, most people will not mess with the rhinoceros beetle. Like the rhinoceros beetle, Heracross has a thick horn on its forehead. This is their main weapon, and also a way to distinguish between genders. The horns of male Heracross are no different from those of rhinoceros beetles, while the horns of female Heracross are heart-shaped. Arceus hopes that the Pokémon he created can integrate into the ecology rather than destroy it, which is one of the reasons why he chose Heracross. They are not ferocious Pokémon. As social Pokémon, they spend most of their time gathering in the forest in search of sweet sap. They only attack enemies when they are robbed of sap and honey, mainly using their horns to knock them over. The huge ramming horn combined with its own strange power is enough to uproot a large tree. Like most insects, Heracross has a high load capacity and can easily lift things that are 100 times heavier than its own weight. The insect wings on their backs give them the ability to fly. Although Heracross is not particularly good at flying, it is not difficult for them to develop all over the world with the help of the monsoon, and the slow spread process allows them to search the islands in detail. Heracross is just the first step. If they successfully stop on various islands, more Pokémon will appear in the future. As for the winter islands that are not suitable for them to live, those islands can be searched later. It's just that Arceus did not create Heracross immediately. Based on the principle of saving effort, it is of course more convenient to catch a batch of local rhinoceros beetles for transformation. The ecology of Wano country is now well maintained, and now is the season for rhinoceros beetles to appear. At the request of Arceus, Wano country quickly launched a new activity catching rhinoceros beetles. Rhinoceros beetles are also loved by many people in the world of pirates. They are magical creatures that can make a certain rubber man entangled in. Whether the pirate king is more important or the rhinoceros beetle is more important, and catching rhinoceros beetles is also one of the fun of children in Wano country. This activity is not mandatory, but an entertaining one. In the name of all beasts, they held a competition in Wano country to see who caught the bigger and stronger rhinoceros beetle. The reward is not much, only 1 gold, but for children, this is a windfall, so a large number of insect-catching teenagers poured into the mountains and forests of Wano country, looking for the strongest rhinoceros beetle in their eyes. There is no clear age limit for this activity, but most of the participants are children aged 7 or 8. They have a completely different life this summer. Even the schools in Wano country organized a similar activity. It is precisely because there is no age limit for participating in the activity that there are some people who are still childish, such as Yamato, who is comparing the rhinoceros beetle she caught with others. Yours is so big, where did you catch it? In the mountains of Kauli. Looking at the rhinoceros beetles caught by others, she suddenly felt that the one she had left was a little ordinary. Speed, this one is yours. Throwing the jar in her hand to Speed behind her, Yamato picked up her insect net. Master Guig, what are you going to do? I'm going to catch a bigger one. How can I lose to these ordinary little guys? At this time, her strange desire to win was awakened. I know I still owe 2 chapters. Don't worry, let me pay it back slowly, referring to no more today. Chapter 573 Dragon Traitor. Uncle Quinn, are you there? Yamato knocked on the door outside Quinn's laboratory. She did have high authority in Wano country, but she still couldn't enter some important places like Quinn's laboratory. Those places store a lot of secrets, and most of the time they are very tidy. But when they are working on certain topics, Quinn and Acee's laboratories will become messy. Although it is messy, they can find what they need in the messy information. If they clean it up for them rashly, they will not be able to find what they want. So they have a very high degree of autonomy in the laboratory. Not long after, the electronic door of the laboratory was opened, and Quinn threw a pair of boots to Yamato. What is this? The boot part of the combat suit you want. Try it first to see if it fits. Most of the functions of the Germa combat suit are relatively useless to Yamato. In Quinn's opinion, it was the flying combat boots that made Yamato interested, so he worked overtime to make this part first. Unlike the one made by Judge, this one incorporates the ingredients of Sky Island shells, and with the energy drive device he made, it has almost the same effect as what Judge made, but it is a little more difficult to operate. The most likely thing for ordinary people to use this kind of boots is to get themselves bloody, and they can't control the power of this kind of boots at all. Most people who can control it have their own way of flying. It can be said that it is very useless and only useful for a small number of people. However, the purpose of creating this thing is to make a toy for Yamato, and Quinn has never considered the issue of mass production. I have integrated Sky Island's wind shells and other things into it. If you just want to fly, storing wind power is enough, but other functions have to use another function method. Wait for me to improve it. I think it is not perfect enough. The translation means that I haven't finished it yet. You have to wait for me for a few more days. But Yamato is not very interested in combat uniforms now. I'm not here for this. Uncle Quinn, do you have anything to trap rhinoceros beetles? I want to catch the biggest one. Point Miss Yamato. Do you think I'm a treasure trove? Listening to what Yamato wanted, Quinn didn't know what to say. Although he was in charge of logistics, he shouldn't ask him for everything. So do you have any? Yes, I'll get it for you right away. Quinn closed the door of the laboratory. Of course, he didn't have this thing ready. If Yamato needed pesticides, he could find hundreds of them in a few minutes, but he also knew that the recent competition held by the children of Wano country required live rhinoceros beetles, which required secondary processing. He had a lot of toxins in his hands, not all of which had a pungent smell, and some even attracted other creatures, making it easier for him to play a better role. His banana plantation also had similar pesticides for dealing with pests. He was now separating the attractant part, which should theoretically be able to lure out rhinoceros beetles. It is not against the rules to use bait. Others have also used various methods to lure rhinoceros beetles, but the effect is much worse than Quinn's trap. When the organizer's daughter cheats in the competition, it is almost impossible for ordinary people to defeat her. But in the end, Yamato only took the ranking, and did not take the prize money, which made the other players feel more balanced. Compared with the empty ranking and the heavy gold coins, they still prefer the latter. The selected rhinoceros beetles were sent to Arceus, and then one by one Heracles came out and divided into several teams to board the ship of the beasts, and they were sent to different seas. Heracles itself can fly out by itself, just to let them go to different islands and expand their search area. At the same time, a large number of Sky Island clouds were also cut into pieces and taken to the Ghost Island. Ordinary clouds are just condensed bodies of water vapor, but Sky Island clouds are different. These are special entities. The Sky Island clouds piled in the room of the Ghost Island even blocked some passages. Godfather, why did you bring so many clouds down? After climbing over a large cloud mountain, Yamato looked puzzled at the Sky Island clouds piled up everywhere. The Millennium Dragons have been too busy recently, so give them some helpers. Millennium Dragons not only live longer, but also take a long time to hatch. The number of their populations today is almost the same as it was back then, but the Sky Island domain of the beasts has been increasing. Originally, scholars from O'Hara did not have the authority to come down, but now not only can they enter and leave Wano freely, but some people from Wano will also come to the experimental fields on the Sky Islands to farm. In recent years, there has even been an additional Sky Island above, which is used as a Sky Island shell breeding field. Those various shells can be used as strategic resources. Although some rare shells are difficult to breed, common shells have begun to be artificially cultivated. The nearest of those Sky Islands is 2,000 meters from the ground, and it is impossible for ordinary farmers to climb. Although the people who farm there will not leave every day, and will live on it most of the time, the transportation capacity of the Millennium Dragons alone is not enough. These Sky Island clouds are the new objects of transformation. Chirp. A blue ball suddenly emerged from the cloud beside Arceus, and then fell on Yamato's head like a hat. Is this a bird? Taking the thing off his head, Yamato saw a blue bird with clouds as wings. They are bluebirds, very cute little guys. Bluebirds, which were transformed from Sky Island clouds with ordinary stone slabs, are the first bird Pokemon to appear in Wano country. But not only that, this little ball can't take people in and out of Sky Island. Soon, those large pieces of Sky Island clouds also changed, with wingspans ranging from a few meters to more than 10 meters. Birds that are very similar to bluebirds, but with more fluffy wings and longer tails appeared here. They are the evolution of bluebirds, Tanabata bluebirds. If bluebirds have wings with clouds, then Tanabata bluebirds are really clouds that have become spirits. They are the new air transport force, and their wide backs are enough to meet the current transportation needs of the beast Sky Island. Godfather, will the little dumplings evolve into this kind of big bird? Yes, but you can also call them dragons if you like. Unlike the bluebirds, these large-sized Tanabata bluebirds are not transformed from ordinary slates, but are the result of transformation from dragon slates, and they are also notorious traitors in the dragon family. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 574. I admit that I have a gambling element. After the evolution, the Tanabata bluebird will have the attributes of a dragon. Although its appearance has nothing to do with any dragon, this is not the reason why they are called traitors. After the mega evolution, the Tanabata bluebird has the attributes of a fairy. As the mortal enemy of the dragon family, it has almost become an alternative in the dragon family, and was eventually awarded the title of traitor. It was after the fairy attribute was discovered that Mirillary was awarded the title of dragon slayer. She has killed countless dragons, which shows how much the dragon family hates this attribute. The wall of Arceus room opened with the sound of gears turning, and the Tanabata bluebirds of different sizes also flew to the Sky Island one after another. The largest one is equivalent to the factory shuttle bus, which regularly takes farmers home to visit relatives, and the small Tanabata bluebird is for personal use in special circumstances. As for the appearance of the bluebird, it is only to enrich the tribe and help some insomniac groups. They are also good at singing. The bluebird that Yamato caught was originally very happy, but after a while, it struggled to escape from Yamato's hand, as if it had seen something horrible, and flew directly to the sea outside. The newly appeared bluebird certainly didn't have the strength to break free from Yamato. Yamato let go, because she felt uncomfortable. However, it was the first time that she was disliked by a Pokémon. Godfather, does it hate me so much? It doesn't hate you, it just has a misophobia. The bluebird pays great attention to its own hygiene. The most intolerable thing is that its cloud-like wings are stained with stains, and Yamato's hands are full of dust. It didn't pay attention at first, but after discovering it, it was a little bit broken in its heart. It's not very dirty, Yukara never dislikes it. Looking at herself, she didn't do anything recently, just caught rhinoceros beetles in the mountains for 2 days, and then fought with Kaido. With the growth of age and strength, Kaido also changed the way he trained her. While maintaining several hours of physical training every day, Kaido would not train her all the time, but arrange a battle every few days. Sometimes it was himself, and sometimes it was the cadres under his command. Now Yamato needs to seek breakthroughs in battles to play a better training role. Among the Pokémon around her, different Pokémon have different attitudes. Chandler will urge her to take a bath, Milkman will prepare milk, and Diancie usually won't interfere with her, but she won't be overly intimate with her when she is covered in dust. After training, only Yukara likes her more. For Yukara, there is no difference between having hands full of dirt and powdered sugar, and it will not refuse the feeding behavior of its master. Isn't this dirty? Yamato, you should go with me to wash it properly. Mariah appeared here with some documents. This is a report on some internal situations of the Flower City. When she returned, she was also brought back, and happened to hear Yamato's words. As the first two partners that Yamato met, they are very familiar with each other, and have a close relationship, but Yamato always feels strange when getting along with Mariah now, because Mariah is too big. She is older than Yamato and Jack, and now she is also 8 meters tall. There is nothing strange about Jack and Mariah getting along, but it is a little different for Yamato. Although there was a height difference at the beginning, it was not too big. Now Jack and Mariah have become little giants, and she, who is still within the normal human range, has become an outlier. Lord Arceus, I will take Yamato to the bathroom first. Go. Yes. Putting down the documents in her hand, Mariah forced Yamato to walk out, or rather, not to pull out, but to take him out. Mariah now can't beat Yamato, but she has an absolute size advantage in daily interactions. A few days later, Quinn's toys were rushed to completion, and Yamato got a set of combat suits that belonged to her, but it was very different from the combat suits of Germa. Although Quinn also has some research on the ability of bloodline factors, he is not a specialist in this area after all. Compared with the combat suits made by Judge, this combat suit retains the ability to fly, but does not incorporate the energy of other bloodline factors. This is the result of his overpass rush. Although the special defense of the Germa combat suit is retained, other aspects have been reduced. But Yamato didn't care about such details. Quinn made the right bet. Yamato only cared about the flying boots. She didn't care about the abilities of other bloodline factors. Miss Yamato, can we let go of that incident? Okay, but Uncle Quinn, what is this thing in this position? Yamato pointed to the belt-like object at the waist. The waist of the pure white combat suit was obviously much more bloated than that of Germa. This is the energy core of the combat suit. What's stored inside is the principle that this combat suit can be used as a shield. With this, you can drive it, even when you're low on physical strength. although it can't defend against attacks that are too strong. Ordinary swords and guns can't hurt it. In other words, there's no problem if other people wear this clothes, right? In theory, that's true, but if other people wear it, it will just be ordinary clothes after the energy is exhausted. This kind of energy is disposable, so the energy core will have to be replaced at that time. Well, I always feel that it's not as good as Germa's clothes. Uncle Quinn, can't this clothes transform directly like in the comics? I haven't figured out that technology yet, but Miss Yamato, aren't you quite satisfied with this? It can still be used, but it can't transform directly like that. Uncle Quinn, I believe you can make a better one in the future, right? You can't be worse than Vinsmoke Judge. It was an obvious provocation, but Quinn would never admit that he was not as good as Judge, so he agreed to Yamato's request and looked up at the sky island in the sky. He might have to go back to the library for further study. However, Yamato did not say when he wanted it this time, and the previous handle was almost cleared, so Quinn planned to fish for a while before talking about other things. The people of Wano country are accepting new things faster and faster. Those high altitude farmers quickly got used to the existence of the Tanabata bluebirds, and they would fly freely in the waters near Wano country. Because they are transformed from island clouds, they can even lie on the clouds to rest for a while when they are tired. On this day, a bluebird was flying around Wano country as usual. After seeing a pirate ship flying the flag of the beasts, it landed directly on it without any scruples. This strange blue and white cloud ball also attracted the attention of the people on the ship, such as Jack, who had just returned here. Chapter 575, Jack's Elephant Soldiers. After saving Tiger's life, Jack and Mandafesh's mission was over. Mandafesh still had his own garrison mission, but Jack was different, so he followed the supply ship back to Wano alone. Even fishermen would not swim in the sea all the time. They are amphibious subhuman races. Swimming is the same as walking and running for them. They would not choose to move with their legs if they could take a boat. Master Jack, a strange bird has landed on the boat. I saw it. It must be a new life created by Lord Arceus. Don't disturb it. There is a 99% chance that the unknown life near Wano was created by Arceus. Most members of the beasts have long been accustomed to it. The three-tailed cow and the electric sheep are the most common creatures. Even stones can become new life in Arceus' hands. And Jack has a way to 100% determine whether it is a strange bird or a Pokemon. That is, whether Frost Milk can understand the other party's words. As long as it can communicate with Frost Milk normally, it must be a new Pokemon. At present, his Frosty Milk Fairy is not only talking to the blue bird, but also giving it cream. It seems that Frosty Milk Fairy likes this little bird very much, which makes Jack's first impression of it also very good. With this resting blue bird, Jack followed the merchant ship from the submerged port to enter the country of Wano. However, just after leaving the submerged port, the bluebird flew back to Sky Island. Although he could not understand the exact meaning of Frosty Milk Fairy's words, Jack could feel that they seemed to have agreed on something. This is the friendship between Pokemon. Sometimes making friends only requires a glance. Except for those naturally hostile races, most Pokemon are easy to get along with. However, individual differences have always existed. Even the gentle Jigglypuff can give birth to some violent element. Lord Kaido, Lord Arceus, I'm back. Fisher Tiger's mission has been completed. He should be with Brother Mandafesh now. The mission summary had been sent by Mandafesh a long time ago, and Jack just repeated some details. Well done, Jack. Now let me make sure of something. Don't damage the wall. Jack suddenly felt a sense of imminent death. His instinct prompted him to transform his abilities and crossed his hands in front of him. The next moment, Kaido's 8 precepts came towards him. His tall body was meaningless. Although he managed to stabilize his body, Jack kept backing away. He was getting closer and closer to the wall, but he stopped at the last moment. Although he didn't break the wall, 2 deep grooves were left on the floor, and Jack was sweating profusely. Although Kaido didn't use his full strength and attacked suddenly, it took a lot of his strength to forcibly take the stick. Aha, very good Jack, you passed. You already have the ability to stand on your own. This is for you. With a wave of his hand, 2 devil fruits were thrown in front of Jack. Lord Kaido, this is the normal form of the elephant fruit and the mammoth form of the elephant fruit. Don't you like elephants? The right to distribute these two fruits is given to you. They will be your future subordinates. Go and choose two of your own cadres later. Thank you for your trust, Lord Kaido. The stick just now was Jack's graduation exam. The two devil fruits were wrapped in a newspaper. It was the news that was sent back to Onigashima a long time ago. It was the new bounty for Jack and Mandafesh. Kaido second Mandafesh, 360 million bail is bronze giant mammoth Jack, 99 million bail is only 99 million. Looking at his bounty order, Jack seemed a little disappointed. He was not very satisfied with this bounty. None of the subordinates of the Sea Emperor ever worried about being bountied. They only worried that the bounty was too low, which would make them looked down on by their own people. Don't lose heart, Jack. 99 million is already a lot. The first bounty I received was only 70 million. The time difference is too long. Kaido's 70 million and Jack's 99 million are definitely different, but this is also the comprehensive judgment of the Navy. The first bounty is the Navy and the world government's consideration of the threat of a pirate. There are very few people who can get a bounty of over 100 million for the first time. Yamato was directly bountied 170 million. In addition to her opponent, the commander-in-chief of Germa is judge. There is also a bonus brought by her identity. After all, she is the person called Miss Baikwin. Jack is different. His opponent is Stolabari, and according to the report on the battlefield, Stolabari's injury is also related to Jinbo's help. In addition, Jack did not have any outstanding performance. He was just bullying people with his size. Because he did not have a very strong combat performance, the 99 million was still due to the blessing of the beasts. The same is true for Manderfish. Although he fought with Borsalino, he did not cause any effective damage to Borsalino and finally chose to escape. Therefore, his bounty was not increased very much. As for subordinates, can we choose now? Yes. Do you have any favorite candidates? Peggy 1 and Ulti. Ulti was just a byproduct. His main target was Peggy 1, but Ulti would not let his brother go to other people's subordinates alone. Although Peggy 1 often felt that this sister was noisy, she would also respect his opinion. In order to successfully assign Peggy 1 to his subordinates, Jack chose to include Ulti. They are not suitable. The two of them are candidates for future cadres and are not suitable to be assigned to your subordinates now. This is the list of candidates of appropriate age. You can choose from here. Someone will come to you soon. You can tell me what kind of ship you want. Yes, I understand. Verbally acknowledging, distributing direct subordinates, and allocating exclusive ships means that Jack will also be an independent member in the future. In fact, Yamato had already reached this level, but Kaido had not further expanded her authority. Although he gave her her own subordinates, she still had no ship. Because Kaido had higher requirements for her, now she can follow other cadres to go on missions. But if she wants a dedicated ship, she still needs to make a lot of efforts. Jack was a little disappointed that he failed to get page 1 under his command, but it did not affect his next move. According to the list Kaido gave him, he planned to go to the monastery to see if there were any suitable subordinates for him. He is not Yamato, so Kaido will naturally not design an internal fight for him to choose people. The rest depends on him. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.